Check, check, check. All right, y'all. I want to excuse that. There's a cord somehow came loose and they found it, and the sound is now officially working. I think we're okay. I just want to double check before I keep moving. We're okay? Okay, we're okay. Okay, everybody. Sorry about that. We had a sound adjustment, but we went ahead and made the adjustment to the sound, and we're okay. So let me start from the top again. Uh, the site is up. The Fight Team Media Hope site is up. Those of you who are paying for membership, you now have access to our site. You will receive an email during the course of this class that will help you log into the new site. The site will have the homework. It will have lesson plans. It will have discussions, and also will have archived videos. That's one. Two, we will be bringing other features to the site because the site right now is going to be in a beta mode. So we're going to continue to adjust it till we get it to that really sweet spot. So it becomes a very interactive space where people can come together and share ideas and also pick up lessons and stay updated with class business and so forth and so on. So we don't have to keep making these announcements. Other thing is that the swag gear is ready. So we're posting access to purchase the swag gear online. It'll be on Fight to Media Hope Foundation. It'll be within our own personal portal. And we may even push a social media pipeline so you'll have access to the clothing. All the clothing is designed by Court Smith right here. And you can see some of his personal branding. So we're really excited about our new swag gear. We're also going to have up-and-coming T-shirts. There will be Black on Black Hope and the Wolf Pack. And if you take this class, you definitely understand the value of a wolf. Look forward to that. Next thing is, I remember these are the last 2 free classes. So those of you who haven't signed up online, make sure you sign up for the classes so you can stay a part of the class. Share this class with your friends. Share this class with everybody. Make sure folks are gaining access to this. We want to have impact, and we want to work on developing a networking circle of Black folks who are elevating the conversation, and we can hold each other responsible, right? Because a lot of times, what we don't realize is that in addition to the redlining that happened around housing in the Black community, which is where white folks drew lines of where we could and could not live in the United States, they also removed agencies. And the purpose of an agency is to subsidize community growth, right? So white communities had strong agencies to support them in their accelerated growth, and we didn't have those type of agencies. And so Hope is kind of becoming like an agency where we're a place where we can have honest conversations on things we have to work on and things we need to work on, right? And be honest about some of our challenges and our possibilities. And so share, and share some more. Next, donations. I want to say thank you, everybody, for donating. Keep donating. The donations is going to go towards, we're going to invest a lot of this money into growth solutions. One of the goals is to get us out of this space and put us in a space that's going to be solely dedicated in the community to developing Black entrepreneurs. And of course, we're cool with our people of colors and other folks who may use these resources. It won't be an exclusive environment, but it will be heavily focused towards African Americans and Africans of African descent or Pan-Africans, whatever. We're going to work on Black folks. And so, but if our Latinx folks show up, we got their back. If our Asian brothers and sisters we grew up with, we got their back. And if White Mike shows up, we fucking with him too. So we ride with folks who fuck with us, straight up. So keep donating. And matter of fact, I want to say, some of our biggest donations came from our own people. I want to say that, first of all, we stepping the hell up. I love us. But I also want to say thank you to all the other races of people who donated. We've had white folks, Jewish folks, all kinds of folks donating to the program. But I want to say Black folks, thanks for holding us down. And all the other people who's down with us, thanks for you also for holding us down. Next, I want to announce that one of our students, Phyllis, she wrote us a letter, a 4-page handwritten letter saying thank you. Phyllis, we love you. I read every word in that letter. It was amazing to read. Yeah. It was definitely flowers to us, especially 4 pages of handwritten letter without lines, because I need lines. If I write you 4 pages without lines, I'm sure you won't be. You have to get a decoder because it's not going to work. So I just want to say, Phyllis, much love to you. Appreciate you looking out for us. Yeah. This means a lot, and we riding with you as well, Phyllis. So Phyllis is a dope sister. She's Dr. Phyllis, actually, and she's with a PhD doing some amazing work, and she's working with enhancing our immune system to fight off things like COVID and other future possible viruses and diseases that are lurking in the shadows. So I just want to say, Phyllis, to you, hey, much love. You rock with us, we rock with you, and hey, let's stay in contact, let's stay close, and it really touched my heart, the letter we received from you. So Phyllis, personally say thank you.
Yeah, and make sure you sage that haunted house you're living in right now.
Yeah, are they? That's what you talking about, our house? All right, hey, that was funny. So we got shirts for sale. Website's up. Last 2 free classes. So share these classes. These classes will live online, but we're gonna go. As you guys know, we're just scraping the surface. Y'all know by the time we get to 6 months, we're halfway into it, and by the time we get to the end of the year, you burning sage and smoking joints at the same time because your mind is blown. So, and we're gonna take you there because in order for you to do something different, you got to think different, and that's our goal, is to shift your thinking. So that's going to happen. So with that being said, we have another alumni coming to the mic. Yeah, he's very familiar with the mic. Entertainer, singer, performer, rapper, dancer, all that stuff. He's a ride with he used to dance with I ain't gonna talk about him as Hammer. That's something I'm not sure if that's true or not. But the point is this: he wants to talk about his experience with the class, and so we're gonna shift our attention, those at home, to my man we call Silence. Thank you, Silence.
Good evening. Good evening. I just wanted to talk about my experience with the class. I mean, for me, I've been in the class. My name is Jeff Arthur, nickname Silence, and I've been in the class. This is the 6th year that I've been here. All right, so for me, what we were involved with a photography group even before the class took place, and we would have these conversations in photography that were beyond photography, things like behavior and things like just business and some of these concepts. And for me, I always say this. One of the ones that stuck out was the conversations that we used to have about spanking, right? And listen, my family is Caribbean. I come from a long line of ass whoopers, right? A long line. And so it was just like, I got 2 sons, and when my son was young, we used to have these conversations. And so for me, it was just a given, like, this is the way you raise a child. Do this. If the 3-year-old knocks some stuff off the thing, you know what I'm saying? You pow, and whoop-de-woo, right? So when we would have these conversations, I would be like, it started shifting my thinking and opening my mind up of like, yo, this might seem like something small, but it actually has the potential to affect generations. And so what else could I be wrong about? And that began this journey of like self-awareness. Self-awareness, behavior. And then so when I joined class, we just started diving into those even more. And what I would say is 3 things is TPA, trust the process, participate in the process, and apply. Right, so trust the process. It's gonna feel uncomfortable as hell when you first starting. You're gonna feel some things like I felt when we talked about the spanking conversations, right? Like, yeah, right, dog. Like, yeah, this dude do something crazy. I'm moving on. So, it's gonna feel uncomfortable. It's gonna feel like your whole this is what you've been taught. This is what your whole family does. It worked for me, whoop-de-woo, all those things that we talk about. So my advice would be just 1, trust the process. when you get that little punch in your gut, shift around a little bit and just sit with that for a second. Some of the readings that we're going to read, ego is the enemy, emotional agility, they're going to feel like they're talking directly to you, right? And so I had many punches in the gut. Trust the process also in that, it doesn't, I've been in this community, I'd say, for 6 years. And so it's not one of these things where you graduate, you get a piece of paper, you know what I'm saying, you're done with it, right? I'm still learning. I'm still backsliding. You know what I'm saying? Nana and I and Kev work out. I was yelling at Nana the other night, hey, Nana, about these stocks, though. You know what I'm saying? Some shortcut shit, right? So he was like, relax, dog. Relax, stay away from the stuff. So the other thing is participate. You got to participate in this process, right? You got to apply the reading. If you're not doing the reading in the podcast, you're really only scratching the surface. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go a whole year and you're really only getting a part of the experience. And sometimes it's going to take you, many times to read some of these books. Audiobooks changed my life, man. I was a dude who, gym, car, everything, rap music, period, right? And so even the sound of NPR hurt my face. Like, it's like, why are they talking so much? You know what I'm saying? Like, why they? So now, man, I've gone, it's been a series of, if I'm in traffic, I'm listening to podcasts or audiobook. If I'm on a bike ride, a 2-hour bike ride, podcast or audiobook, right? You know what I'm saying? Like that's unheard of 6 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Hurt my face. And then the last one I would say would be apply, right? So if you just sit in the class, yeah, you're doing the reading, yeah, you listen to the podcast, but you're not applying it, you also missing a part of the experience. And this is the one probably that's taken me the longest, right? So I was soaking it up a lot, but as far as application, I wasn't always applying myself. And so, it's life-changing once you apply it. You know what I'm saying? Once you apply the tactics to parenting, to some of the conversations, some of the, the business tactics and some of the emotional awareness and behavior things, it's a game changer, you know what I'm saying, with not only your family, future generations, but also in business. I made the most money I made ever last year. And shout out to Kim, my business partner, we have a language now because she also takes the class, you know what I'm saying? Even in my personal relationships, like Tone, Vic, and I, we have a language because we're taking the same class. And even at the gym, you know what I'm saying? Who knows dudes who bench pressing and then talking about emotional awareness and concepts, or talking about space and stars and shit like that. So it changes your the conversation. You all said something the other day. Check your frequency. You know what I'm saying? So it changes the frequency of all your conversations personal. So again, this class, this community has been life changing. The relationships, the parenting. I meditate now. That's crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like 6 years ago, if you asked me, yeah, I'm gonna need you to meditate. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even own a pirate blouse. Like, crystals. So the fact that we meditating and really bringing in self-awareness, it's been a game changer. So, yep.
Right. Oh, thank you, Silas, bro. Thank you. Yo, that right on, man. Right.
That was funny.
That's beyond funny. Right on, Silas. Thanks, family.
Yeah.
It's dope, man. It's dope. And just watching, I think the greatest gift we get from doing this is, and the most important gift is watching folks grow. When we see folks growing, I promise you, every year, somebody will call me on the phone, I gotta fight back tears. Because I'm so happy and so excited. And it's not, I don't want to sell this idea that it's all growth. There's a lot of slipping, right? But the slipping is part of the growth process, right? And then just to see somebody have an emotional fall or have a fall in business but then have the language to talk themselves through it, to get themselves back in the game. It's just, man, it's heartwarming. It's super, super heartwarming. So, yo, thanks, Silence, once again, man. Appreciate that. So with that being said, I want to go over some of the podcast highlights. Now, I sent out 3 podcasts, and 2 were from Matt Bonner. One was on perception of belief, perception, and the other one was on the biological limits of the mind. But before we get there, I sent out another discussion. Her name just slipped my mind. I don't know why I didn't write that down, but her name just slipped my mind. But in the podcast we sent out, it was discussing the complexity of change. And what I think, I just want to kind of go over some of the highlights of this podcast, because there's a lot of fire in the podcast we put out. And I keep saying this, like, those of you at home who are listening to these podcasts know that these podcasts we're putting out, they're not just born verbal where people are just saying something, but they're ground cracking. You know what I mean? They change your foundation. So the first thing she highlighted was how flawed our own personal narrative is. Mm-hmm. We're going to get deeper into this as a year goes by. But our narrative that we tell ourselves, okay, let me say this real quick. We make a lot of decisions on stories. We're so story heavy that we even convince each other and we manipulate each other with stories. I can get you to loan me some money for a dumbass idea with a great story. The problem is that we tell ourselves so many stories that are logically incorrect, or they're full of fallacies, biases, distortions, that it's ridiculous, right? And so she highlights in the piece that the first thing we got to recognize that if we're talking about changing ourselves, we got to be aware of the narratives we're telling ourselves. And we'll get into that a little deeper throughout the class this evening. She also discussed that when you say you're ready to change, I think this is something this is so important. And stick with me at home. Like, put your dish rag down, or just turn down the music. But she highlights that change is heavy lifting. Requires heavy lifting. Too many of us are engaging change as if it's just a decision. Change is not a decision. It requires heavy lifting. Then she goes, before you complain about your scenario, she says, ask yourself, how are you contributing to your circumstances? Quite often when we're going through situations, it's easy for us to focus on what somebody else is not doing, what white folks ain't doing, what my parents didn't do, what my kids ain't doing, what my significant others are not doing, and we don't realize we never ask ourselves. As a matter of fact, what she highlighted in this conversation is that a lot of people will come to her and say, how can I change my wife, my husband, my family member? And the point she wanted to show is that a lot of times the change ain't them, is you. Because sometimes you're contributing to their behavior. So the behavior you get from other people is based upon the way you show up to people. And if you want to change other people, you start with yourself. Then she said change is hard because it involves loss. You lose the familiar, meaning that when you decide to change, you're leaving your comfort zone of things you're familiar with. Excuse me. So that loss of familiarity makes you feel like you're just literally in a void. And the fear of the void is so powerful. It's like if I told you, I'm going to take away your home today. You don't have a home. You're just going to wander the streets of Oakland. I'm going to make sure you have some money in your pocket, but you can't have a home. Many of us would have mental breakdowns. What changes in that same category? Because who you are is your mental home. And so when you decide to change, you're leaving home. And I think a lot of us think that change is just adding to who we are, when quite often change is letting something go and adopting something new, right? And then it highlights that she also goes on to say that change involves discomfort of uncertainty. When you decide to change, you've never been there before, correct? So because you've never been there before, you are changing for something you don't really know what it looks like. That in itself becomes highly discouraging. Then she said, here's the basic steps of change. First, it starts with pre-contemplation, where you're walking around seeing things going, I think I want to be somebody else. Then you go into preparation. Oh, man, I think I want to change. So I have conversations with everybody. I think I want to change. Marquita, I think I'm going to change. Eric, I think I'm going to change. And then you take an action. And you say, everybody, I'm changing. Or you did a Tone Vic. Everybody, I'm on Facebook. I'm changing my life right now. Yes, Tone Vic, I hit you again. But the last choice is maintenance. And maintenance is where everybody slips. Because maintenance means that when you decide to change, you got to do things to maintain the change, one. That means if you decide to change, you have to build a lifestyle to support the change. You can't keep the same lifestyle you had before the change and expect the change to take place because you have to maintain the change. The second thing, part of change is slipping. You got to backslide on change. Meaning that you can be on a diet one day, and then all of a sudden you find yourself at C's Candy loading up. And you ate way more calories than you were supposed to eat that week. Well, many of us say, fuck it, this ain't really for me, and we quit. Not realizing that fall off and that recapturing your position is all part of the dialogue, is all part of the process. So in the process of change requires you to slip. But if the slip discourages you, that's why many of you cannot handle change, because the slip is mentally overwhelming. It's like through slipping and regaining traction, over time, you are able to gain that position. Next. Okay, I'm trying to read two things the same one. In change, often the things that inspire change are seeds that are planted throughout the year. Meaning, for example, Hope, this class. The reason so many people take this class 4 or 5 years and say, I'm learning something new every year, is because your brain can't remember all this stuff. And so as you change, many of these seeds are planted, and over time, and through reading more books, these changes take years. So a lot of times you get the direct information from somebody to inspire you to change, but also when you come to a Hope class, you're getting seeds that will sprout 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So change is not necessarily a direct reaction to an action. Sometimes change is seeds that are planted that take root years in the future. Next, she talked about self-compassion, not self-flagellating or self-shame, which is a form of self-shaming. So what I mean by this is so important. So I know you guys hear me say in class all the time, hey, you got to have self-compassion. Where's your self-compassion? Work on your self-compassion. Because we were taught our whole life, when you do something wrong, beat yourself up. Damn, what I did? No, you should have never did that before. What's wrong with you? That shit's so damn stupid. But that self-shaming is why you can't change. Let me say this real quick. Change is not flipping a switch. Change is not willpower. Willpower is limited. Very, very limited. Extremely limited. Change is a process of recognizing your emotional connection to your values. Let me say this again. Change is a process of recognizing the emotion you have in. For example, okay, let's say a court did something right now and it made me angry. If I just say I'm angry and leave it right there, I'm missing something. Right? And many of us in our community, we just stay at the anger point. I'm mad. I don't like court. Fuck that dude. But if I took some time and said, I'm angry, and I didn't demonize the anger and said, okay, it's okay for me to feel angry. Don't mean I have to act on it, but it's okay for me to have that feeling. Then I could turn that into a question, why am I angry? When I answer that why, I am now tapping into my values. You guys see this? But when you say I shouldn't be angry, I shouldn't feel like that. I shouldn't be racist. I shouldn't be sexist. I shouldn't be whatever you're thinking. When you say that idea, you never get a chance to tamper with the value that's driving that behavior or driving that emotion. So the first thing I do is you can't call your emotions good or bad, they just are. Now you can't engage in emotionalism. Emotionalism is when you run around and you just, pushing people, mad, screaming, pouting, frustrated, storming out of rooms, hollering at people. That's not what we're suggesting. Meaning that you will have these feelings, but your awareness of the feelings empower you to eventually get to the value that's driving the feeling. But if you don't lean into the feeling has ability to dominate your behavior, and you almost don't know why you're acting the way you are. So if you feel a certain kind of way, just stop. This made me mad. Stop with it. Sit there. It made me mad. Once you realize it made you mad, go, why does this make me mad? And have that conversation. Engage in a discussion. Become a lawyer from two sides. Ask yourself, what does this mean? And quite often, you'll find that a lot of your anger and your emotions are programmed into you through social contagion and other things. But because you don't give yourself a healthy relationship with your own emotions, you can't get to your personal values. I hope y'all realize that's some game. Next. She highlights, and you're going to hear about this a lot, there's between a stimulus and a response, there is a space. What does that mean for those of you at home that never taken this class before? Let's say Shakina comes up here and she knocks over one of the cameras. Now, y'all know how black folks are. We got that I wish a motherfucker would emotion that we have. We don't have a word for it yet, but it's called a wish a motherfucker would. Where we are always waiting for somebody to cross that one line, right? So to say she breaks that, the camera falls over and the lens breaks. Between the time that I have an emotion and the time I respond, there's a space. If you can learn to once you learn to widen that space, I can't begin to tell you the power you're going to gain in engaging human beings, negotiations, sales, handling problems, working with your kids, working with significant others. When you learn to say, I have this emotion, pause my response, and then build a process where you think between the emotion and the response. Now, we're going to get deeper into that, how to work on that. It's called being hooked. And for black folks, we're hooked. Meaning something happened, we snap. Okay, so let me give you one tip, because I don't want to, in case you just don't take any more classes, and for whatever reason you don't want to come holler at me, because if you don't have the money, you come holler at us, and we'll work with you. But let's say you're not going to do that because your ego got you messed up. One of the things that will help you develop space between the emotion and the response is developing emotional granularity. Emotional granularity is the language and words you can develop to describe your emotions, which will give you a hold over your emotions. The more you can articulate look, I'm mad is not an emotion. It's what you might be mad because you're tired. You might be mad because you feel it's unfair. You might be mad because you feel like you're not accepted or you're not loved enough. But if you don't have the emotional granularity to get down to the root of what's happening, you will start at I'm mad and just take off. And when you take off, often you will sabotage or undermine your own personal goals. Because remember, when you're working with human beings, first of all, when you're trying to achieve a goal, it's not about the individual, it's about the team. But if every time you get upset, you chopping off branches of people that can support you, that isolation is creating your own poverty. Poverty in economics, poverty in relationship, poverty in emotional experiences. And so developing that space between the emotion and the response is so damn critical, it's ridiculous. And y'all know when you go to black businesses, y'all know what the hell those of us who black have been in black restaurants, y'all know sometimes that emotional response has zero space. It's microseconds, milliseconds. What? What'd you say to me? Oh, hell no. That doesn't translate. You can't run shit like that. That works if you by yourself and broke as hell. Once you grow and you have a team, you can't afford to just snap, 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 because you may lose the most valuable labor. Because sometimes the most valuable labor doesn't look like the most valuable labor in the seed stage. But as that person starts to grow, that person may go off and make somebody else successful when that person could have made you successful. All right? Next, it says, try to imagine other people's versions of their stories. Don't distort their stories by self-defense. So what does that mean? If me and Court is having an argument, and I'm framing him in my mind based upon I'm defending myself, and all I'm waiting to do is make my argument, I'm not processing where he's coming from. Or I have this generalization of people. I say, oh, these niggas over here, this is why I say the N-word is destructive. Oh, this broad got me fucked up. This motherfucker's stupid. Oh, he hating on me. She don't respect me. He doesn't love me. Once you go into this generalization, what happens is that in your brain, you are slaying a monster instead of talking to a human being. You have to assume, if I'm arguing with Court, the first thing I'm going to assume is that he means the best. He has the best intent. So let me try to see where he's coming from, and let me try to imagine every possible way I can make his argument. As I try to make his argument, it forces me now to be in a listening role as opposed to a speaking role. But if I'm so busy generalizing him and defending myself, all I'm going to do in that discussion is articulate my views. Meaning that I am not working on empathy, I'm working on proving myself. Now, y'all know in the black community that's big. Because when you don't feel like you're good enough or you're dealing with low self-esteem, you focus on validating yourself. You don't focus on listening to others. And so quite often when I'm listening to people, I always say, okay, at the heart of this person who's getting on my nerves right now, they're a good person. They have to be a good person. What is it they're possibly feeling at this point that's causing them to respond and act like this? And if I can't process it, I can't figure it out, I will turn that question into a verbal question. That's in my mind, it turns into an open question. Hey, help me understand why you're responding like this. And as I help them develop granular communication back to me, it allows me now to be in the driver's seat. Remember, the person who asks the questions is in control. The person who asks the questions is always in control. All right? Let's keep going. And these things we're going to dive deep into. Like, we're going pretty fast, but anybody who's taking this class knows these are all going to come up again and deeper dives. People keep people at distance to hide their pain. So all of you at home that are bragging about, I don't really fuck with all these different people, I just really run by myself. You just announced your pain. By the way, I gave you guys game also with people around you who runs around bragging about how they, I don't deal with all these folks. I'm by myself. You also know the people around you who are suffering from pain. Being isolated is not a badge of honor. It's not within even our nature. There's 8 billion people on this earth and somehow you found a place by yourself? That's insane. All of our dreams come through other people. If you're a young parent or a young future parent, you realize other people are going to impact your kids. Those same people you didn't engage will engage your child. And if you don't participate in that, making that reality any better, those weeds that you didn't engage will eventually grow up and choke your own child. So quite often, your discomfort with other people, stop talking about, oh, I cut this person, I'm done with this person, I'm over here, the cancel culture. That's people who are in pain. I've been making an argument since this class first started. Me Too is a good idea. It is very core. Black Lives Matter kind of suck, but the intent is good. I mean that they want better treatment for black folks. Let's just stop there. That phrase makes me want to throw up. The LGBTQ plus movement is very, very good because it's fighting for the rights of people of different sexual genders. But where shit goes bad is when the depressed overtakes the movement and it becomes something else. It becomes weaponized. It becomes a tool that people use to slap each other's hand and rank themselves as more valuable. Matter of fact, I can almost tell you this, and this is game for y'all. The person in the community who's the loudest mouth about racism and homophobia, sexism, or anything like that, watch that person. Because those are usually the highest, the greatest manipulators in our community. Period. I know that sounds fucked up, but that's real. I'm not saying all of them are, because that's not possible. But quite often, people scream on Facebook. Like when George Floyd was murdered by the police officer, the voices I seen jump on Facebook and tell people, if you don't do this, you're a sellout. If you don't do that, if you're a sellout. It could have caught your attention if you didn't know who these people were. But if you watch these people when the shit calms down, they suffering. And hurt people hurt people. So just be aware that, this whole isolation thing, that's not a good thing. Especially in business, that's a suicide thing. Next, it talked about suppressing your pain causes you to shut down. You're alive, but you're dead. So a lot of times when we're feeling these pains, the pain that we're suffering from, whatever pain we're doing, a lot of times we feel we want to avoid those pains. The only people who don't feel pain are dead people. The only people that don't feel pain is dead people. And yet you guys are running from pain. I was watching this C+ level series called Warrior. And the guy complained about his pain. The lady says, thank God for your pain because that means you're alive. I said, that shit's so cold, right? And the reality is that when you're dealing with emotional pain, it's important you learn to lean into it, not run from it. Suppressing it literally kills you. You said, what do you mean kill you? Literally, when you're in a room, when you're talking, it's hard to listen to you because we don't even know where you're going with this. You're almost superficial by default. Nobody seriously wants to ever engage you because conversations can't go anywhere because you're running from the pain. The pain you run from keeps you from reaching a deeper level of thought. Next, it says, we feel we will die if we feel the pain, but we will die if we don't feel the pain. Meaning you avoiding the pain will kill you. You must face the pain to grow. You must face the pain to grow. It kills me how everybody wants to avoid this process, right? Next. You can't, now this is cold. This is cold. You can't move forward until you can accept you don't get a redo on your childhood. Many of us are stuck on what we didn't get or what we didn't receive in our childhood. Shit, some of us are stuck where we didn't get in our teenage life or in our young 20s. We stuck. This is why, if I just, I'm going to call my mother, see what, I'm going to call my cousin, she needs to apologize to me. You know what, this dude did this to me and I'm never going to be, you don't get a redo. The sooner you realize you don't get a redo, you can move forward. Now, it goes on to the next one. It says, but what you do get in this freedom of adulthood, but what you do get is the freedom of adulthood. So what it's highlighting is that a lot of times you focus on what you didn't have as a child. But if you move towards the future, you are not facing all the possibilities of what you can create. So you so stuck in fussing and complaining and trying to reinvent the past, you can't actually capture all the possibilities of the future.
Let me jump in there. A lot of us are walking around like that right now. A lot of us on the call, a lot of us in here, is that some of our childhoods have been so traumatic that we are walking around waiting for closure, wanting closure from a parent or a brother or a sister or cousin or somebody who abused us. So you can't even live your adult life because whatever happened, that person damaged your childhood, but now that person you're allowing that person to damage your today and damage your tomorrow and your relationships, and you pick people to engage in relationships just like that person, and you're replaying it because you want closure. And so the truth is, some of y'all may never, ever, ever get closure. That person may never, ever call you to say, I'm sorry, I apologize, I fucked up, my bad. You may never get that. So if you don't have the ability to close those wounds yourself and heal those wounds yourself so that you can say, hey, check this out. That shit happened when I was 12. I'm 30-something now, or I'm 40-something now. I can choose to live the rest of my life in the way I want to live it, because that happened then, not now. Like until you decide to do that, then you'll live forever. You'll live the rest of your life as that 12-year-old with that open wound.
Because remember, as a human being, you build a belief system, a reality on top of reality. And what shapes your reality is these stories you tell yourself as if you have the ability to go back into the past. You so stuck in fairness, right and wrong, it should have not happened, it should have been this way. Remember the word should, which is kind of distortion? When you start saying should, you're projecting, which is you're creating a false reality that you suffer from. And so you have to get to the point where you can say to yourself, okay, it's over. I can't go back to the past. Like, if somebody robbed you yesterday and they got on a boat and went to Europe, you can't spend your days frustrated and angry and it should have been this way and I should have locked the door. It's over. It's done. Every day that you spend wasting your time thinking about him, you're losing valuable time on other things you could be thinking about. I would almost argue that the stories and narrative of racism that's running in our community has us stuck in old stories. There was somebody online that said, when your child goes out, tell them to do A, B, and C so they come home safe. But out of 350 million, about 1,000 died. So we tell our kids how to exercise every day, how to eat certain food, because people are dying higher of heart disease. Do we tell our kids about washing their hands because of how the people are dying from other viruses? Do we tell people about asthma? Do we tell people about depression? What I'm saying is that the story of white people killing black people has become such a loud narrative that our brain takes that narrative and act like it's happening everywhere, every place, at all time. The reality is that that's a low concern. That's a low concern. But if that narrative is running in your head and that old story is reinvented, okay, think about this. Stay with me for a second. Imagine if I had you watch Channel 7 News every night. And for every night I showed a new cop killing a black person every night for 365 days straight. Now, out of 350 million people, let me just help you out. If you had $1 million and I stole $300, you wouldn't even notice it. If you had $350 million, I stole $300, it's impossible for you to notice it. But if all of us watch it on the news, we would say black people dying everywhere. Everywhere you turn, there's somebody, white people killing us everywhere you turn. It's not true. But the distortion, and then after a while, we will walk through life assuming that, hey, cops are killing black people everywhere you turn. It's not true. But our brain has the ability to create a story so strong that it will trap us. We will cry when we see our kids. We don't want our kids to leave the house past a certain hour. And it's not true. What is killing us is a story in your head. Let's keep going. It says, but what, it says, bonus, these are some bonus points that I decided to add that I just wanted to highlight. And this is kind of cool. It says, saying there is a saying you have made more, there's a saying, there's a saying that says you have made more progress from those that have tried to hurt you than those who have tried to help you. There's a saying that says you have made more progress in life from those who are trying to hurt you than those who have tried to help you. Why don't we put this in there? We've gotten so, this is why I don't like social justice. Social justice is one half of life. you live life with human beings. Human beings still take shits. Like when you see somebody, you don't imagine them taking a shit, but everybody you saw today probably took a shit. I'm saying this for a reason, because your brain just don't go there. But in order for you to really see people, you got to learn to see people from multiple angles, right? A lot of times we're so busy playing this gentle, soft game of emotions and everything else, not realizing that your pain is not necessarily, the reason I want to go here, the pain of your experiences are not necessarily a bad thing. Some of those pains have made you better. But when you're avoiding those pains and demonizing those pains, you don't realize that a lot of people, your success or how far you got today has come from previous pains. So let's say one point somebody at school clowned you and told you wasn't shit and everybody started laughing. That's a lot of strain. And right now, you driving hard and just finished your degree at Cal Berkeley because you want to prove those people, fuck them, I am somebody. Or let's say somebody told you a black man can't do this, and you're like, well, why can't I? And you did it. Or let's say somebody tried to hurt you and you bounced back. You say, I ain't gonna let anybody ever hold me down. We don't realize we've gained from some of our hardships and pains. So when we demonize these pains, we don't realize we're demonizing some of our own fuel. Learn to stop putting positive and negative on your emotions and your experiences. They just are. And your emotions that you have about them, it's okay for you to have those emotions. But you can't get to the higher level until you learn to process it. But by you saying, I don't want to think about it, I want to talk about it, just cut it off, I don't want to forget it happened, and whatever, you're cutting a major part of yourself off.
Also, let's talk about stories again, saying the narratives we tell ourselves about those pains, the narratives we tell ourselves about what happened, those things specifically, whether they're true or not, doesn't really matter. It's how they affect you, right? And if it works for you. So you get to decide how you shape your stories. You get to decide. So you can take a pain, you can take a past pain, a past trauma, and you can create your own story for what it means to you. And if it works for you, then it's good. I used to work for somebody who, like my pops was a crackhead, and he died a crackhead. I used to work for a guy who both of his parents died when he was young from overdosing on drugs. And he was super successful. And if I had all this work to do about my dad, I had all this healing to do, and I had to go to close shit. And him, it'd be like, we talk about it, he'd be like, yeah, shit happens. Shit happens. He didn't pull out, and that's all I needed him to do. I got the rest. And that was a story he told himself, to where he don't need all the other shit. He fixed it. That was his narrative. So some of those past pains and traumas that you've gone through, you need to check the narrative you have around it, because you may need to just reset and start with a new story.
Yeah. And we'll get deeper into that narrative tonight. Another bonus point is becoming a leader requires you to lead yourself first. I would even take it one more step further. Learning to see others requires you to learn to see yourself first. Learning to have empathy for others requires you to have empathy for yourself first. Where we're going wrong in this whole game is we think helping others we think helping others and helping ourselves are two different things. So often we neglect ourselves, thinking that we can still have a direct pipeline to help others. But you can't help others until you help yourself. You can't lead others until you lead yourself. You can't see others until you see yourself. When you say Black Lives Matter, black people, we got to make it matter first. We can't ask other people to say Black Lives Matter if we don't live every day of our life to make sure our life matters. The narrative, I'm kind of going off the train track real quick. The narrative we tell ourselves about success, we connect success towards individual happiness, right? You say, I want to be successful so I can be happy. We don't realize that narcissistic plan makes us irresponsible to the real story. Okay, think about this. Let's say Silence makes $20 million for the next 5 years. That's $100 million. And he just stops. I'm good. But let's say he dies 30 years from now. What do you do this shit for? What do you do it for? Let's say he didn't invest in anything. His kids just kind of grew up, did their thing, and one of his kids is, both his kids are fucking up as far as money, not as far as like drugs or death, but they don't have no responsibility towards money because dad had money, so I don't care about money, this kind of normally happens. And let's say all of his friends are suffering. And let's say one day his son goes to a party and gets shot. Silence needs to look at itself. He said, what do you mean? Because we kind of owe the people who came before us. Now, they don't owe us. We owe them. When you make a lot of money, it should give you the freedom to go invest in a world you have to live in, your kids have to live in. But if you're that selfish person and think, I just want to rank my status higher and make more money, we're underserving ourselves. So then when we underserve ourselves, we turn around and go, Black Lives Matter? Well, damn. Shouldn't matter to ourselves first before we start talking about other people? Like, you don't get to say your life matter and you ain't doing anything. You say, what do you mean? You share this world with 8 billion people. Why in the fuck are you so important? If you want to become important, you got to do important shit. Quote it. Facts. I'm put that on my shirt one day. If you want to be important, do important shit. A crackhead can stop you one day and say, hey, man, you didn't see me? And you're like, yeah. But you probably won't see him again tomorrow. Because guess what? You have other people you have to focus on. If that crackhead wants you to see him, he has to perform. Once he performs, you're like, hey, I like that dude. He got his little fruit stand. He's over there building himself up. He's doing some stuff. He's in the community. He's contributing. Or I went to the school and he done cleaned himself up and he's playing with my kids. I see him. You have to come within my lens. But don't think for 5 fucking minutes you so special, your life matters. And trust me, I'm not dismissing Jim Crow and slavery. I'm very aware of that shit. I'm not dismissing that today. We're still dealing with that shit. I'm saying that people see you based upon how you perform and show for yourself.
And when you decide to become this leader, you lose a lot of shoulds out your vocabulary.
Oh my God.
You lose them because what people should do starts becoming your responsibility. I be watching these interviews a lot of times with these artists and ex-rappers, and typically they're the ones who weren't the main act in the group. They was kind of on the sideline, and all they do is talk about what the main artist should give them. I did this for Jay-Z, so he should give me $1 million. I was part of his crew, and I punked this dude for him, and I pushed this dude out the way for him, and if it wasn't for that, they would have been on his head, so he needs to give me $1 million. The St. Lunatics, when they were talking about Nelly, and they were all crying about how much money they were getting for shows and all this shit. Look, you wasn't doing shit. You was part of the group, and you wasn't holding weight. You weren't leading the group. So the shoulds go away when you start leading, and then once you start leading, then you put yourself in a position to be there for others and helping others. But like Jay-Z said, you can't help the poor if you one of them. So that's the change in thought that has to happen.
Next, we also did a book we discussed. One of the podcasts was called around biological limits of the mind. It showed you, and it's very important, if you didn't get that podcast, go back and listen to that podcast, because most psychology is based upon that right now, which is we were designed for a simpler world. If you actually go back in, into history, first of all, Scott said something on the stairs the other day. Scott said, the further you go back in history, the uglier shit gets. Once you learn real history, not this glorified, not television history, start reading real history books, and the further you go back in history, shit gets really ugly. And one of the things you got to realize, 100 years ago, majority of the world was in poverty. Majority of the world, like them TV shows of the Wild Wild West and all these great things happening, that shit barely, that was such a small, that wasn't even a wink, that wasn't even a blink in human history. So humans were designed for a much simpler world. I want you guys to know that when we went to global economics and the internet, your brain don't even know how to handle that shit. When the world went from 2.5 billion to 8 billion people, your brain don't know how to handle that shit. When you got to the point you can get on a plane and fly from Oakland to New York in 5 hours, your brain doesn't know how to handle that shit. And doing business in a complex world, your brain doesn't know how to handle that shit. You have biological limits. I mean, remember when you first joined this class, and those of you took the first 2 classes, I said there's nothing wrong with you. I said that you are perfect based upon where you're at. Once you decide you want to go into business, your brain is not designed for that. Your brain is not designed for that. The second thing he highlighted, and I want you to go back and listen to the podcast because it was a short 20-minute podcast but full of weight. He highlighted that a lot of times, he said, it was Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett had this dope-ass saying. He said that your knowledge and the information you have is your horsepower. Mm-hmm. But many of you guys are only driving 10 to 20 miles per hour because your thinking skills or your mindset is weak. Mm-hmm. I've had people talk to me all the time with big degrees and education and a lot of information, a lot of data in their head. And they wonder, why can't I break past a certain point? It's because your thinking is flawed.
Also, in that podcast, which was dope, is that's why there's nothing wrong with you. We went from being a tribal world, meaning a few people in a little group. We had a couple animals, and we ate and picked food off the tree. We took care of ourselves. That's what we're wired for now, is to be a tribal society. Then we moved into the farming age. And so we start farming heavily, and then boom, we're in this industrial age, and now we're in the information age. And our brains and minds and mindset is still back there in the tribal world. So that's why it's very important not to rely on your autopilot, because this shit's gonna take you to tribal land. You're gonna only want to take what you need for your family. Like those tribal mindsets is they're on autopilot for you right now. So if you are engaging in this entrepreneurial shit, then your movements gotta be in manual mode. You have to carefully think what's the best outcome for this situation right now. And at the very beginning, a lot of times it's gonna be anti what you want to do automatically.
And then last podcast we discussed was the biological limits of the mind. And a couple of highlights that I want to, perception. The one about perception. Yeah. And the reality of perception. This is also consistent with the book we're reading right now. But one of the things I wanted to double tap on is memory distortion. A lot of us think our memory is accurate. Your memory is not accurate. Let me Umar Johnson you this on this one. Your memory is not accurate. Accurate, your memory is not. Nope. Memory not active, right? I said it 3 different ways. Your memory's not active. I mean, your memory is not accurate. Excuse me, active. Accurate. It's not accurate. Your brain, every time you pull up your memory creates a new contextual revision of your previous thoughts. And so a lot of times you say, when I was 13, this happened to me. It didn't really happen that way. Your brain created revisions, but it feels real to you. Memory is not accurate. So a lot of times we say, well, I know this is true because I have this memory. Well, not necessarily. It also highlighted how your brain can't take in all the data around itself. It spotlights only what's important. If it's not important, it doesn't take it in. I can give you an example. I was telling somebody on the phone today, I said, if you love flowers, when you walk out your house, you will see all the beautiful flowers in your neighborhood. But guess what you won't see? All the weeds in your neighborhood. Because you don't care about weeds, right? Or you won't see all the rock formations in your neighborhoods because all you're looking for is flowers. But they're all out there. The dirt, the bugs, the rodents, they're all out there. But what you see is based on what you're looking for. And so your belief is shaping what you're looking for. Next, tunneling. Let's say you fall in love with something, like you love your business or you're working on something. When you tunnel, because you're deeply, deeply, deeply focused, anything outside the focus you can't see. This is why a lot of athletes are not the best politicians, because they had a tunnel to become that great of an athlete. So then when you run up to a microphone and say, hey, what do you feel about George Floyd? And they say some shit, you'd be like, that's a C minus. Of course it's a C minus, because that's not what they're thinking about. They're tunneling based upon their commitment to their sport.
Did you watch that video, that gorilla video? Shit was crazy.
In a minute, we're going to open the question in a second. Another thing, too, is people rob your attention. If I point a camera and says, oh, my God, look at this, latest news, this is serious, your brain won't think of the alternatives. People are always suggesting beliefs are offering new thoughts. People are hijacking your beliefs every day. Man, you should like these Nikes. You should rock this kind of car. You should date this kind of person. You should wear these kind of clothes. You should go to these kind of events. If you're making this kind of money, these are things you should be doing, right? I mean that people are projecting beliefs on you all the fucking time. And if you're not aware of that, you will think at some point, these are my beliefs. They're not. They've been projected onto you, and you never knew to police those beliefs. And then last, you have to become pattern aware. Start to pay attention to patterns in life. Become pattern aware. Watch your patterns. Watch other people's patterns. Process patterns around you. Because beliefs are responding to patterns around you. And if you're unaware of patterns, for example, there were people doing the voting that said we need to vote to impact the black community. Or there's people who said, I'm so mad because Trump said, make America great again. Y'all know that's a pattern, right? You know Reagan ran that same campaign, right? You know many presidents have talked that same shit before. And on as far as every 4 years, black folks get, or 8 years, black folks get hyped up, it's a pattern. But if you don't see the pattern, 8 years from now, you're going to act like it's new again. And you're going to be emotional and cutting friends off because they didn't vote the way you think they should have voted, or they didn't vote at all. And you'll realize you're not observing patterns. Learn to observe patterns. Other thing, generalizing makes you blind. You know, as a Democrat, what the fuck is that? Black people, what the fuck is that? Oakland folks, what's East Oakland? We know how we are. What the fuck is that? It makes you blind to people. A person will walk up in front of you and you don't see them. Like, you know, I hate when white corporations try to talk to me about social justice. It makes me want to throw the fuck up. And let me tell you why, y'all. Now, this is me being personal. I don't give a shit. If you turn your screen off, then fuck it, bye. I'm an artist, one. I'm black, two. As an artist, you know as an artist, the person can walk up to you with rings and chains come out their nose, their ears, and that motherfucker can be raw as fuck. Him or her are in between gender. They can be raw as fuck. So we know the way you look has no value on your skills, and we know you can also look like Prince and Michael Jackson combined and can't sing for shit. That you are valued based upon how you show up, not based upon how you look. So when motherfuckers tell me, what do you think about this woman who has a head wrap on? I don't know. She ain't said shit to me yet. Like, you don't go with this. It's as an entrepreneur, you don't move like that. I am loyal to black people because I'm trying to build some shit. And I see our mental condition killing us. But when I see other races, I ain't beefing like that unless you show up like I said, I give a fuck about those who care about me, and I don't give a fuck about those who don't. It's a simple mathematics. But I don't walk around if I walked around mad at a particular group or race, all I'm doing is hurting myself. They don't even know. They're at home eating cereal, and I'm mad as a motherfucker by myself. The stupidest shit ever. Why do I want to kill myself over some made-up ass anger that I can't even validate? So when you try to teach me about social justice, but fix yourself, don't try to fix me. Fuck you. Anyway, that's my side note. That's just one of my personal complaints. All right, we'll open the floor real quick to any questions that we may have or anything that was stated online from things that people thought that had no connection between the stuff we taught so far in class before we jump into some of this other gangster shit. So let's go. Did you lower the mic for Shakina? That's cool. All right, go ahead.
Hi.
Hey.
Shody's in the house. So, my question was about a remark that you made a few minutes ago when you were talking about the athlete and how they have their blinders on. So, my question is, when you have intently focused on something for so long, right, like you get tunnel vision. Myself, for example, so like I've been extremely focused on my business for 3 years. Like I used to be jack of all trades, side hustler. And like I got super laser focused on my business. And I was fortunate enough to have my life accommodate that. Like there were things in place. My daughter was young enough where she was in certain functions and flows, and there was things that were compatible with me being able to put a lot of time and energy into my business. And now I'm realizing that a lot of the things that granted me the ability to focus and put on blinders are non-existent anymore, and trying to figure out how do I pivot, because it's a necessity to pivot in order to continue to function at a high level.
I'm actually going to teach that next subject. So
Okay, cool.
So yeah, cool. So you get that's coming next. If it's not satisfying, you can just jump in the middle if you say that just didn't satisfy. But the next subject is literally going to address that. Go ahead, Shabisha.
So can you double tap on earlier, when we first started, you made a statement around how values are attached to change, how our values are attached to change. Can you double tap on that again?
You mean emotions attached to change? I mean values. So do you want to double tap on how emotions attached to values?
Yep.
Okay, so we're often told we have good emotions and bad emotions. Emotions just are, right? Now, if you act on emotion, you can make it good or bad. But let's just say somebody's talking to you like, man, fuck this dude. I hate this dude, right? When you say that, if you say, shit, I shouldn't hate. And you go, that's just, what the fuck wrong with you? Why would you hate him? Like, that's stupid. When you shame yourself, you don't go to the next level. And you just kind of left at that really superficial emotion. But if you say, okay, that's cool, I'm comfortable saying I don't like him. But why is it I don't like him? When you ask that why, that's where your value lies. And you discover your value. Remember, a lot of your values, you're not even aware of them. And a lot of them are hidden behind all these emotions. You're throwing these emotions all over the place. Fuck this person. I had a hard day. It was just rough today. I'm just mad. I'm just stressed out, right? That's the thing. I'm just stressed out. There's no such thing as that. Stressed out is, you got to go further. Okay, I'm stressed out. Why am I stressed out? What happened today that caused me stressed out? Oh, I was frustrated. Why was I frustrated? Because this happened. But why did that make me frustrated? Oh, because I didn't really know what I was doing. So really, this is a cue for me to work on me learning what to do. Well, why did I not know what I was doing? Probably because when I'm running my business, I got this mythological idea that I just keep running down the street and all the gold will just drop out of the sky and somehow I'll be successful. And I don't really have a plan for this. Oh shit, I'm not really driving my car. I'm kind of have a make-believe path in front of me, right? What I'm suggesting is that we're going to teach you granular language throughout the year around all your emotions. We're going to really help people dive. So when something happens, you don't just say, I'm mad. You can actually have a deeper dialogue. And it's proven when people have more granular language around their emotions, it will empower them to have more emotional control, right? When you have emotional control, you guys watch those movies when somebody's negotiating and somebody's trying to piss somebody off and the guy's just chilling, relaxing, and he's whooping them on negotiation. Or if you see a martial art movie where a grandmaster will say, I slept with your sister, and they start fighting. But the reason he said that was not because he was just insulting him. He knew if I could get him angry, his skill level dropped by 50%. Right? And so he knew, get him angry and I can get him. Same thing happens to us in business all the time. But the way you practice now is you learn you develop emotional granularity, emotional intelligence, and develop the ability to say, if I have emotion, don't demonize it. It just is. Doesn't mean it's good or it's bad. It requires discovery. Because sometimes you can have you can say, I hate that white guy. And it might be prejudice because it's not racism. Has to do with power. We've thrown the word racist around a little bit too much. It's just prejudice. But we may have a prejudice when we go, I hate this white guy because he's white. He has freckles, whatever. Once you sit down, you process it, you might find you don't really hate him. When you see him, it triggers you feel like you're not good enough. And it has nothing to do with him. It has to do with the way you feel about yourself, right? And so that's why it's important to go past that first emotional response. And for black people, we're very limited on the way we talk about emotions. Because a lot of our parents when we were coming up, told us, don't take that emotion outside. Don't show your emotions, stand strong. It was part of our machismo, our pride, and it kind of fucked us up a lot. And so we got to learn how to build a healthy relationship by being able to articulate it, like, damn, that really made me mad, but give me a second to process this. And I promise you, if you learn that alone, it's going to help you in your relationships, your marriage, your leadership, across the board.
This one was on going back to childhood trauma. And there was a conversation online where it was like, yeah, but what about when? Not what about as like so the conversation that's hard, especially when the situation is you're now in a position to take care of those aging parents who were not there for you. So it's like it's in your face. So that's the hard part. So I wonder if you guys could speak into that.
Well, one of the things is this. What is your alternative? Number one, hold on to it, continue to suffer, continue to hold those open wounds. What's your alternative? Also is therapy is good for you. Therapy can be good. You can go to therapy. You can work through it. There's things you can do to work through it, not just from this class or from a book. Like some of those things are entrenched and they're deep and they're strong. So we're not suggesting that it's just a pancake solution. We can flip it over and now you're good. Like
2%.
No, if you can work through those things, there's a saying too, awareness by itself can be curative, which means sometimes being aware of observing certain situations can be like, oh shit, you know what? I am gonna let that go because I can see it and I can observe it from this point and you can move forward. But get through it, get therapy. You know, if it's super strong in your soul, get therapy, work through it. But at a certain point, your alternatives are very limited. Your options are very limited beyond that. So you can sit there, like I have a sister, she's 56 years old. Open wounds from both her parents, mom and dad. And if you even say the word mom, 20 seconds, she'll be in tears because she refuses to heal. And her life has been in turmoil from that point to now. And it ain't it don't look good tomorrow because we're talking through it. So what's the alternative? The desire to change comes. Desire is one of the key components of change. And if you ain't got the desire, then shit, it ain't gonna happen.
Also, may I add the other thing about, like, you know, now they're older and there's pressure for you to take care of them. First of all, that's a Brules. That's not true. You're not obligated to take care of them, and most parents know that. Two, they can project that story on you, but once again, we got to remember, our parents are flawed just like we're flawed. Everybody's flawed. And all this. When y'all find that perfect motherfucker, please send me a picture. And please don't send me a picture of myself because I don't want to hear this. Point is this.
Really?
And then third thing is
Really?
this. Whatever, leave me alone. Whatever. Third thing is that. But if you choose to take on that role, it can become a superpower. See, you only could do so much for yourself. If Nana had to get up every day and run Fight Team Media for me, Fight Team Media would have never been created because Fight Team Media, Nana's lazy if he wants to be. Nana could play video games for a whole month and eat good food as long as it don't make me hella fat. Nana could go to Atlanta and get lost and then come back every month and go, oh, well, I'm back, right? But that doesn't serve my greatest love. My greatest love is my family. My greatest love is other black folks. My greatest love is a better life for all of us. And so because of that, what motivates me to override me, what motivates me to push harder and push beyond my limitations is when I show up for others. And sometimes if you want to be happier faster, and it doesn't mean show up for others by giving up your life. It might mean I'm going to make a couple more extra dollars to help invest and help them out financially. Now, I can't take care of you, not yet. Or maybe you hurry up and grind harder and hit that 10, 20 million. So you can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to send you $3,000 to $4,000 a month to help you have a nanny to come through and make sure you're good, right? There's so many choices or alternative, but don't tell yourself the story that you got to give up everything, show up, give up your life, which that's traumatic in itself. That's traumatic as fuck. So if you do have any guilt that does stay as residue, I'm not going to try to take that away from you in this class. And like I said, I would suggest always work with a counselor. But what I would suggest is if you say, hey, I want to keep that guilt, use that guilt as fuel to get you to where you want to go. So when you say you're ready to quit, or when you say, man, I was going to push past Shabisha, but Shabisha's just better than me. But if you had to push past Shabisha because your mama's life depends on it, Shabisha ain't got a chance.
Don't be pushing no wheelchairs down no hills.
Is that it? That's it. Okay, cool. I guess y'all see the connection between this class and business so far. All right, let's jump into some stuff real quick. We're about to jump into the Code of Extraordinary Mind. I want to give it some real time today because we got a lot of stuff to cover. But before we jump into Code of Extraordinary Mind, I got one thing I want to discuss is this is going to kind of address Shakina's question that she's highly focused, but she's concerned about being in a position where she tunnels and starts to neglect. By the way, let me share one more focus that can cause you to become an unintended narcissist. If you take this class and you get into why am I doing this? I need to process. Why am I doing that? I need to process. I need to think more about me. Do you know that when you walk in a room, you're a narcissist? Because all you're thinking about is yourself? You got to learn how to work on yourself and still see others. You have to really learn how to work on yourself and still try to think about what other people are thinking about. You can do it. Trust me, your brain is fucking amazing. But some of you, I've seen people in this class in the last 5 years got so deep into, why did I do this? Why wasn't me and my mother cool? Why am I not forgiving my mother yet? I got to work on this principle. And then when you talk to them, they spend the whole time talking about what they're working on. Narcissism. Anyway, one of the most important things you're going to learn in business, this is a business tip and a personal tip, and this here is a defense tip to social contagion and a lot of these psychological problems we discussed earlier, is become a why person. What do you mean when I say become a why person? Become that person that asks why. Compounded whys. Meaning that when you're in places, why do they have that light there? Why is that box there? When you learn to ask extreme why, number one, you're honoring the process. See, processes, for example, if you watch Steph Curry shoot his free throw, if you have to say, how did he get there? Why did he do it that way? Why does he do it that way? That will give you the ability to go all the way down to the base and develop ownership. Number two, get comfortable with people asking you why. What makes a person a professional is the ability to answer why. If a customer comes to you and say, why did you do it this way as opposed to that way? Why this? Why that? Why this? And even if they start asking you why like a 7-year-old child, you should be qualified to show up to that why. Next. Once you ask why, you understand how things unfold. If you understand how things unfold, it gives you a deeper insight on life. You kind of get around the status quo type of talk and the superficial thinking. When you start asking why, you start to learn the patterns of life and how things move around you. So that allows you to increase and improve your decision making. Next.
Also, too, asking why is one of the key components to take you out of autopilot. Put you
That's
in
my next
manual
point.
mode.
That's what it does. That's my next point. That's tight. I'm sorry. He just hit my next point. He knows my next point. Go ahead.
Yeah, it gets you out that culture. It's the bridge outside the culturescape, because outside the culturescape is your blind spots, your unknowns. What don't I know? I don't get it. I don't understand. Because you don't ask. And then once you start asking, then you see shit. Now I see some culturescape out there. So why get you out of autopilot? And that's where you want to be. And if you embed that in your daily, or
Everything.
in everything you do, well, why? Well, why'd you say that? Well, why did that happen? Why is that? Then your world opens, your world expands.
In addition, that's so tough. So he sets me up for my next point. When you ask why, it helps you avoid your mental limitations. A lot of the limitations we just discussed is because you don't ask enough why. I'm talking about if you see this bottle here and you go, well, why did the label go past this point? Why is it red? Why does it sit on top of here? Why did they put this white top on top of there? Why do they use plastic instead of glass? Like, I'm not exaggerating that at all. If you're around any strong performing entrepreneur, they are why machines. When you have a feeling, why is this feeling? When you hear a conversation, why do you say it that way? Like, learn to turn on the why part of your brain. I promise you it will give you. Now, ask why when you disagree. One of the reasons we are trapped in 1960 racism, because we don't ask why no more. We go, well, I heard, somebody told me, this is what I know, and we wrap a beautiful story. See, there was one day I was walking down the street, and this white guy walked up to me, and he did this, and this is what I learned. This is who white people are. We'd be like, wow, facts. And we don't say, well, wait a minute, why were you walking down that street? Why were you in that neighborhood? What were you doing? Why did the guy walk up to you? What was the profile of the guy? But when you don't ask questions, it causes you to tunnel and narrow your vision on reality. And all of a sudden, people are creating, when you ask why, you're stopping other people from creating a reality for you. You're opening up your culturescape. Why? And it's going to require bravery to ask why. Because why sometimes is invasive. When you ask people why sometimes people are like, don't ask me why. If they can't ask you why, then get out the room. It's not the person you need to listen to. Like, master the art of asking yourself why, walking around asking why. When you take a vacation, don't take a vacation and lay in the sun and drink whack-ass drinks you could have had at the club down the street, or you could have made your own goddamn kitchen. Go places and ask why. Hey, why you do it this way? Why you do it that way? Why do you eat this food? What's the history of this culture here? The why will give you so much insight on self. It'll give you so much insight on things around you, and it will help break a lot of your limiting beliefs. Ask why till there's no other option. Last, ask why on things you absolutely disagree about. Why does that person think that way? Where are they coming from? What would it take for me to believe what they believe? Like, literally take that time, and I promise you, you'll stop seeing disagreements and words as people, and you'll start seeing people again.
And entrepreneurs, if you are out there and you haven't started your business yet, or even if you have and you're looking to open up a new particular part of your business or a product or a different service, and you're doing market research and you're talking, that's when the best time is, when you're asking people. Kelly came to my office the last couple of weeks ago, and I want to know what women are thinking when they go to a Nike site. Like, why did you pick that? And why do you like that? Is it that strap? Like, what? Tell me about that strap. Does that hurt you, or does it feel like? I want to know everything, because once you start getting deep into the whys, then you'll understand either the emotions or the reasons or the stories or the logic that they have. And it don't matter whether it's true or not. That's your market. That's your customer. So if you can appeal to their logic, to their emotions, to their reasons, or to their stories, now you gained a customer. So In business, this is everything. Like when he was talking about this cup, why did they pick the color red? Why did it go over the? You'll realize if you ask, it will be scary as fuck because they will give you answers. And you're like, well, we chose red because psychologically we know that our brains are still tribal brains, and when we see the color red, it triggers something in us and it makes us make a fast decision. So that's why we chose red. You're like, oh shit. And that's why all fast food companies have red as their color, because they want you to think fast. You don't even know that. You don't even know that. So you get manipulated by people's whys. So once you start asking those questions, and you'll step out the culture escape, and you'll be able to observe and manipulate.
Matter of fact, once you start practicing wise, you'll see how much our culture still thinks. Our thinking patterns are heavily influenced by slavery. You'll see it, but you can't see it right now. When you don't ask the why, you won't see it. Once you ask the why, you realize, oh, we're in survival mode. We're not in thinking mode. We're not in exploration mode. We're not on a starship exploring new stars. We're trying to maintain and survive. That puts you at a disadvantage in competition. So one team is practicing strategy, the other team is just practicing maintenance. It's a whole different game. And so when you play, why do you get smashed on? Because you're not even playing the right game. The why game is so cold. You remember when we were younger and we would watch white folks go into a room and we were like, oh, white people are always fucking curious. You know, if I saw that door, I just went home, right? And all black people like, yep. I was like, yo, y'all missing it. That curiosity is what we need. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We got to open those doors. Our brain we're so busy not, you know the rules. So then go to the next one. Limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs is cold. Limiting beliefs is so cold that some of you guys think limiting beliefs is like the word, don't say can't. Don't say impossible. Let's go a little deeper. Limiting beliefs is this idea that you start off thinking that it's not for you, or you might say something like, if I might say, hey, let's work on this idea, you'd be like, ooh, that's gonna be kind of hard, right? But how are we gonna do that? You just echo limiting beliefs. I ain't never heard that before. Man, how's that possible? That's gonna take a lot of work. Oh shit, I don't got time for that right now. Man, you know, I'm not really good at math like that. You know what? I just never, in school, I just never passed those kind of classes. Yo, another limiting belief. Really, you should probably ask course better than me. Limiting beliefs are so, or you'll say, that's the law. That's the rules. That's the way it's always been. If you want to grow in this country, this is what you got to do.
You got to go to school.
You got to go to school. You can't, how are you going to be successful if you don't do this? If you want A and B, you got to do C. If you listen to the communication that happens in our community, this week, I want you guys to turn your frequency up on limiting beliefs. Just listen for it. I don't want you guys commenting. Don't give your fucking opinions, because you're gonna become irritated as hell. But walk around and listen to all the natural born limiting beliefs that echoed every day. I learned this a long time ago. This is the way it works. You mean that one way it works? There's no other way it could work? Or let's say somebody come in your office and you be like, oh, he's this, so my strategy is going to be that. That's the only strategy you have, and that's the only thing he is? I mean, you just narrowed both. You narrowed who he is, and you narrowed your response, meaning that you increased your chance of failure, because there might be 20 options and you only chose one based upon a limiting belief.
And limiting beliefs create your reality too. So it's not, basically it imitates, how they say art imitates life. Like limiting beliefs create your life, because if you say, yeah, I want to do that, but I'm too young, or I'm too old, or I'm too black, or I don't have a degree, and you cut yourself off from it, you just killed off the possibility of what could happen on a bullshit limiting belief, because there's somebody out there that's doing it with your same situation, similar situation.
All right, let me fuck y'all up for a minute. The whole gentrification argument was a limiting belief.
Yeah.
Let me say this again let me Umar Johnson this, because I don't ride with Umar like that. But the whole conversation around gentrification was a limiting beliefs. They're taking our land and our limit, and then we can. Do you understand that human beings are always evolving and always moving? We're nomadic animals. We always move for different purposes. East Oakland wasn't always black. Matter of fact, West Oakland used to be, the Latinx community had West Oakland, right? And now they're in Fruitville. And the Fruitville community got shifted because they moved in. And it will shift again. But when it shifts again, are you thinking about where you're going to go next and realize that's part of the pattern? Or are you focusing on what you can't do and what they're doing to you? And in the end, let's think, okay, here's the sad part about the gentrification argument. It beats up all the people who are economically, don't have the power to change their condition. Because now you feel victimized by every time you see a white face in your neighborhood, not realizing that, hey, go create that shit somewhere else then. Or if you don't want that shit to happen again, no, that's a pattern, and you have to make investments so that can't happen in the future. But if you focus on what you can't do and what it is and what's happening to you, that's a limiting belief. Many of us are still quoting 60s limiting beliefs in 2021. There's always an option. Let me explain to you where I'm going with this. I am not trying to rattle your cage, because I know some of y'all are pro-black sensitive because you're trying to deal with your own personal blackness and you're using this conversation to heal that. And I get that. But that pattern of thinking is going to destroy you in business. In business, you can hit me from here, and I will surrender that win and take the win over here. I will see multiple angles. You could tell me no here, and I will find yes here. I don't have one way to skin a cat. But this whole racial discussion that we're having in social media is very one track and very linear. And that type of thinking is destruction. If you went to get $100,000 and the bank said, fuck you, punk, I ain't give you nothing because you broke as hell. They don't say it like that, but they write it in nice words. But it's just say they say that to you, right? You look at your next alternative and you make a move on it. What you don't do is sit there and take it personal and be like, oh, see, this is why black men, because banks don't want to help us. Whether they do or don't want to help you, there's always another option. It may take another 2 years. You may have to reroute your path. It may even be just as fast. But you will never know if you don't learn to be able to pivot. See, the opposite of limiting beliefs is mastering the art of pivoting. When something comes this way, you pivot to the next one. But the key thing, I used to talk about this when I first started teaching hope. Have you ever watched water run down a hill that's full of rocks and obstacles? And have you ever watched how water will continue to adjust, but the main goal is that water will eventually make it down the hill? Some of us are saying, if you didn't build me a perfect pipeline down the hill, I can't get there. But those of us in business realize that we expect obstacles. Let me tell you something. Fire grows by engaging obstacles. We get heated up. We grow. We become more powerful. Obstacles turn us on. We have an attraction to obstacles. But this new society is demonizing obstacles.
Yo, entrepreneurship thinking is there's always a way. There's always a way. I add my little spin on it. There's always a fucking way.
Don't do that again when I'm drinking, bro. I was like, wait a minute, that's the same thing.
Man, it is. And this in this book helps you open up the door to all those choices, because now you take your life and from the one before that, you become a why person, and now you're saying, man, I know it's possible for me. I have to find a way. And so everything nothing happens to me, I choose it. Like life is like I chose it. So you complaining about your significant other, you chose that. You complaining about where you work, you chose it. You chose everything around you. And sometimes it don't feel like that, but you chose it. And you can unchoose it at any moment. But a lot of our limiting beliefs a lot of times make us feel like we're stuck or locked in a situation when we really ain't.
See, with entrepreneurs, we don't have A and B options. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
None.
I don't engage at all.
Yeah.
Like, we have options at all times. So when somebody comes and puts a microphone in front of us or a television show and says, hey, this happened, and this is your alternative, what you gonna do? I'd be like, fuck you. What you try to do, manipulate me? You just give me 2 options? Like, that's ridiculous. But TV and movies and shows and people speaking to you, they do this shit to you all the time. White people do this, so black people, what you gonna do? Hold the fuck up. This ain't even my conversation. I gotta make my soup still. And they got some small shit to do. I think you guys get the game fucked up because you get letting people create your alternatives and your choices for you, not realizing that those choices are limiting beliefs. People are telling you how to feel about shit. Like, no offense. As an entrepreneur, I'm gonna say something that's gonna shock the shit out of you. When George Floyd was murdered by a police officer, disgusting. Absolutely didn't like it, but it added fire to my fuel to build. I didn't march on shit. I marched on shit because I wasn't about to wear my knees out. Because that to me, and mind you, I'm not insulting people who did march. Thank you, brothers and sisters who created some disruption, because there is movement from that. There is emotional movement that comes from that. But it's not enough, because we've been marching since the 50s. And that's a lot of motherfucking knees. And so my point is that at some point, I want another option. That's all I'm saying. It's not saying this option's good, this option bad. It's saying you're not about to trap me into 2 options. And you definitely ain't about to have me breaking no motherfucking windows. Because I got money and they might make me pay for that motherfucking window. I'm not throwing my money away. So I'm going to work on how can I make black people dope as hell? How can I invest in ideas and solutions so my kids can go to the corner store and the flavor is good? I'm looking at it different. And guess what? I expect you to add another fucking choice to it. And another choice to it, and another choice to it. Increasing our choices, that's the opposite of limiting beliefs. People have trapped us by stories. All right, I'm going to give you our advanced lesson. This is going to come up later on in the year. It's another dog versus wolf. Dogs love narratives. Wolves love optionality. Narrative is when I can narrow your choices by the story I tell. A wolf is always asking himself, what options do I have at all turns? And you never fall in love with a pattern you created that worked the last time. You're always open to a possible new pattern because you realize all patterns are always being challenged or being, for example, life is like software, always being updated. The pattern that got you here will not get you there because those things, the variables have changed. And so you're always open to looking at those patterns or reinventing those patterns. And you cannot reinvent them if you're simple-minded as with all those limiting beliefs. Next, make sure your team don't have limiting beliefs. We're going to call this conversation the Starship Enterprise. And say you're on a starship. Imagine, this Starship Enterprise is a dope-ass show. Star Trek is hella dope in this one area. If they just sailing through space, they making love, talking, having jokes, partying, having fun. But when shit gets crazy and hectic, oh man the stations. Battleship alert, we're about to go to war. Remember, in business, you can only go so far by yourself. That's a myth that's been told to. We've been told that success is about being Superman. But success is about being in an army or the Avengers. And your team can compromise all individual efforts. That means the team has to remove limiting beliefs. Let's say you tell your team, tomorrow, I want to create a software solution for this idea. If the team first response is, I don't know, man, how are we going to do that? That's going to seem so hard. They fucking up the game. They're slowing you down. The first job of the team is, all right, let me look into see what we can do, and let me get back to you. And what the team does, like they do on Star Trek, hey, Captain, we can't do that, but what we can do is reroute the power to the engines and do it this way. You get where I'm going with this? Black people, when we build shit, when you're building your team, you have to remove limiting beliefs and get your team to dream, believe in the possibilities of exploring the unknown. And in the exploration of the unknown, they accept that there will be challenges and obstacles, but their job is to get around all those obstacles, but never to entertain the obstacle as an absolute that's going to stop you from selling to the unknown. That's the Star Trek theory. So let's go to the next one. Pimping ass Brules. Hey, let me tell you something, baby. This is what you need to be doing. You understand me?
Kelly, you need to hook his hair up.
Yeah, nah, baby, he could here. Look here, sweet mama love me the way I am, baby. You know what I'm saying? Me got his captain hat on. But here, let me say with this real quick. Bullshit. Brules stand for bullshit ass rules we've been taught our whole life. Rules that we think is true, they're just not true. I like this image for one main purpose. There's a lot of wisdom in our ancestors, but there's a lot of bullshit ass rules that came from our ancestors. And we don't even know it because, like he said in the book, where did you get your story about love from? Where did you get your story about marriage from? Where did you get your story about happiness from? Where did you get your story about success from? These are rules that were passed down to you. And a lot of those rules are distorted behind. Look, man, if you think for 5 seconds, this is so. Look, I know some of y'all don't really want to pay attention. Y'all avoid slavery discussions and the culture and evolution of black folks from slavery, Jim Crow, crack, because it just didn't stop to subprime fall to today. Some of y'all want to like watch Disney shows when you live in reality and like kind of look at life through a Disney show. So I don't get it that some of you guys have practiced escapism your whole motherfucking life. But you can't begin to tell me that people who suffered such an unfair path don't have hella residue. If you say, I don't really deal with black shit like that, that's your way of responding to the residue. If you say, niggas crazy out here, that's your way of responding to the residue. If you say, I love black, that's all responses to the same core problem, y'all. And if you think your ideas and your cultural thoughts are pure and and rationality doesn't even exist. It doesn't even exist. It's relative. So a lot of these rules that we are like, a lot of these beliefs that we have, rules are these foundational ideas. We call them mental models that you're building on top of, and some reason you can't reach the top. And what you have to realize is you have to change the foundation of those ideas to get to the top. Go ahead, I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, I mean, at the core is the wild, right? In the wild, animals, they mate, they have young, they feed, and in order to feed themselves and their young, they go hunt. And they feed off of whatever is in their makeup as an animal, whether they're carnivores, predators, prey, whatever. They either eat something that's green, some fruit, or another animal. And that's the game. And in between time, they're trying to stay the fuck alive. That's the wild. That's the wild. Now, there are no rules. So if you observe the wild, you realize anything goes, everything goes. So so everybody has to use their senses and every ability that they have to keep themselves and their young alive. So that's why animals, when they drink water, they drink water like this. They looking around while they're drinking water. Now, if an alligator comes and grab them by the face and drag them in the water and kill them, shit, that's the game. And that happens, right? So us as black folks or as entrepreneurs, we have been bombarded with so many rules, so many things that have been passed down that we don't even know why because we don't ask. The best thing that we can do is like we talked about earlier in this class, man, question all that shit. Fuck these rules. If it's not a law,
Not law like the law written in that you go to court for. We're talking about law of the land.
yeah, if it's not law, man, fuck these rules. I don't, like, says who? Like, because a lot of times society, because they know they can't put a damper on rules, they will demonize it in the media, and we laugh at it and make fun of it. So when we see a Kanye West or we see whoever that tends to move without rules, even Elon Musk at times, or Steve Jobs, or all people who don't move with rules, they fuck that shit. We demonize them, so then it makes us subconsciously scared not to step outside of our rules. Fuck these rules.
Like and mind you, we're not advocating hustling and stealing and robbing.
No.
That's petty and low end. What we're suggesting is, like, for example, so you know Kaepernick got kicked out of the NFL for kneeling, right? But you don't realize Mark Cuban decided that he doesn't want the anthem played anymore at the basketball games. But do you know that the owner before Ross Perez, I forgot the guy's name, he removed the anthem because he wanted to play God Bless America. Meaning that all those owners took liberty to change. It's not written in law. They can't. They're a private business, so you can't force Mark Cuban got too many names. Mark Cuban to play the anthem because it's a private business, not a public business. He changed rules that you would in your mind would think, nah, they did that, because what he realized that shaming is not a rule. Popular cultural trends is not a rule. And a lot of times, your freedom, by giving yourself freedom to make that choice, it helps you develop a creative mind to see new options and possibilities. But when you become too rule heavy, you can't see options. So if I told you that opportunities are everywhere, you would say, I don't never see them. Of course you can't see them. You're full of rules. Let me keep going. Human beings are far less rational than we think. So we kind of covered this. I'm going to just go over this real fast. Remember, we have two realities, the reality that we exist in and reality in our mind. So a lot of times we're taking that reality and first of all, we're taking the flawed reality, we're taking our fallacies, we're taking our biases, we're taking our distortions, we're taking all these things and we're going, I'm just being rational. Rationality is not a thing. Human beings, because of our experiences and because of social contagion, we pick up a lot of our facts unconsciously. You do not consciously adopt ideas, all your ideas. Some of the ideas that you believe in right now that you're willing to fight and die for, you didn't even consciously engage in. It's social contagion. So a lot of times you say, this is my rationality, you're going to realize the more you grow, you'll stop using that argument. It makes you more humble and curious than arrogant. Like I've seen some people online in class who are constantly, like when we say something, they're typing, yeah, because I know this. Yeah, because I know that. I know that person's suffering. I already know who you are. Because people who are powerful are humble. They realize, let me process that. And they have no desire to echo, yeah, that's what I believe too. The only reason they're echoing in that context is to say, hey, look at me, I'm just as smart too, or yeah, I know that too, or you know what, my ego says I'm just as qualified too, when you don't realize that the devil's in the details, and you can't get to the details because you got a wall of ego trying to validate yourself, because deep down inside, you don't feel like you're good enough. It's a cold fucking game. Now, this social contagion shit. The reason you are impacted by slavery is not because you sat down and read a book on slave behavior and said, ooh, that shit hot. I'm about to learn how to talk like a slave, move like a slave, think like a slave, and walk like a slave. Slavery thinking came wrapped in love. Your great-great-grandmother was a child of slavery. Then she passed it out to your great-grandmother, then your grandmother, and then your mama, and then now here you are. And you don't even know it because I watched this happen, how I will watch a generation, let's say I'll watch a group of kids dye their hair blonde because they say, I want to look like white women. They just say that, I want to look like a white man. That first generation. But the second generation that grows up will just see them as, they look cool. And they just adopt it. They don't even know the ramifications or the psychological impact of that, right? And so what I'm saying is that a lot of even bad ideas are brushed over by birth of a new generation. So when you have thoughts that came from, I want y'all to think about this. Everywhere you went, you felt the world was against you. Unfairness was the name of the game. Dislike and hate was the name of the game. The larger media constantly said you're not equal, you're not qualified to be here. And your lives was part of the equation. There are more things that are happening in our culture, and then you got this thing called television. Ooh, television is cold. When I was younger, I was born in 1967. Ain't that some shit? Beautiful year. If you go back, you remember the sky turned red? That was me, baby. But anyway, I was born in 1967. And when I was born, culture was still kind of rich as far as local, small culture, right? So the reality was really based upon the things we were observing. And I remember as a kid, I used to have this show called Leave the Beaver. Mm-hmm. And that shit was about as fake as it could be. The mama, I'm sitting here, I'm a little kid going, what is this shit? This shit is so whitewashed, it is ridiculous. I ain't never seen a black person act like this. I ain't even never seen a white person act like this. I would argue in 2021, the shit is the same. You just can't see it no more. And what you find yourself doing is you're imitating that or set that as a standard of how you want life to be, not realizing you are disconnecting from life itself. You're using even watching TV shows as evidence of reality when that is nothing but a distortion of reality. Now, real quick, then you mix that with a little bit of social media seasonings. And you got people who are online trying to heal themselves by lying to you. Man, we over here popping the most. My life's the greatest. That 2 hours it was. The rest of those 364 days and 10 hours or 22 hours, your shit was pretty much close to fucking boring or nothing or sad as fuck. But when everybody's showing you those 2 hours and all you see when you go online is all this amazing shit and you in day 363, you think, I've had the worst day ever, or worst year ever of my life. Your life is perfect. It's just that your perception is fucked.
That's the cool part about Brules, is a lot of times our bullshit rules come from TV shows we watched on TV. So some fake shit that didn't exist in the first place, we created rules about our life for. Or from songs we listened to. How to treat women, how to treat men, how to treat ourselves, how to be tough, how to be men, how to be women. A lot of times we picked that up off of TV shows or music and created rules for ourselves from it. And it doesn't even exist in reality at all. And so we torture ourselves when life doesn't unfold the way we want it to unfold, but it was set up to fail from the gate. Understanding honesty with yourself and understanding reality where it is, who you are, a lot of times is not, even though everyone they have to operate under the same reality at its base, a lot of times people don't want to see it, they don't want to hear it. They don't even hear the real. Because it hurts and it's against the social norms, even though underneath everybody's doing the shit. So
oh boy, it's real.
It's a real, like when you live in this world of Brules and in the culturescape, like you don't understand how complicated your world is. That shit is hella complicated because you're operating under these fucking fallacies and false narratives and rules and shit that don't even, you open the cage, ain't nothing there, when it's so freeing It's so freeing to release yourself from social contagion, from Brules. You living life.
Man, it's empowering. And the thing with social contagion, it's unconscious. Like hang around somebody long enough and watch you start imitating them unconsciously. Or watch two other people that just met. If you don't believe it's unconscious, watch people who just met and watch them start to wear similar colors and clothes, similar styles, similar responses, similar reaction, similar views. It's so natural for this human animal that we are that we can't even shut it off. That's why the environments where you hang out and who you hang out with, it's going to really matter in this game. You can't grow past a certain point and the people around you are not growing. Because unconsciously, not consciously, consciously you can be like, oh, I'm not, this is what I stand for, this is why then later on you go, damn it, why can't I get past this point? Well, won't you break away from these cats, these sisters or brothers around you who are underperforming, who have a different group of values? Why don't you hang around the people that intimidate you, that have the values of where you want to go, so the social contagion of that group starts to impact you? Social contagion is so powerful. Let me add another layer to social contagion. Emotional contagion. Do you know if you walk into a room and you feeling like you're really, really angry, the blood pressure just went up for most of the people in that room, even though they don't share your emotion, anger, or even know why you're angry? Your body's not only copying people around you, your blood pressure is going up from people around you. Your stress level is increasing from people around you. Your happiness is also changing from people around you. There's this thing called emotional contagion, meaning that human beings are affected by other human beings. The white coat effect. So when I go to the doctor and they do my blood pressure, when I first go in there, I need medication as far as they're concerned, because my blood pressure be high as fuck. They got to give me 10 minutes to relax. Then they take my blood pressure, and I have beautiful blood pressure. But I have this thing called white coat syndrome, where when I walk into a hospital, I instantly start to adjust to my environment, unconscious to me. I don't feel nothing different, but my blood pressure starts to adjust. So this whole idea of thinking you control yourself, you're going to find out in this class, no the fuck you don't. You are a product of your environment. Yet you have the power to make choices, but if you don't have awareness, you are purely a product of your environment.
Yo, that's why it's some manual things to do. Is that if you're the type of person that always have people in your circle that agree with you, don't disagree with you, always like the shit you like, say the things you say, shake their head up and down, everything you say, then you guys are captured by that. You're hijacked by that. Like, praise the people in your circle that disagree with you, that don't like the shit you like. Like, they add value to your core and to your team or to your friendship or to your relationship or marriage or whatever they are. But it's value in having people around you that say, I don't like that shit. I don't agree with that shit. One of my best designers, matter of fact, my creative director at my company don't like basketball at all. But guess what? He grabbed ideas. Like, that's why a lot of our uniform designs are so unique to the game, because he don't use it as a reference. He likes soccer. He likes other shit. So his influences are different. So all I have to do is give him the nuances of the game that he can run with. But I like it. I like it because he adds a variety, differences to it. So, and he's the also one in meetings where, everybody's got caught up in that yes shit. He's the first one to be like, hey, Court, I don't agree with that. And sometimes I'm tight. I'm in here like, fucker. But guess what? I love it because he saves me a lot of the time. He saves me 30, 40% of the times, or he opens up the dialogue so we can add more value to it. So it's important. We naturally gravitate towards people who agree with us. It's just human nature. But manual mode, that person that kind of an irritant that's always disagreeing, that person is good.
This is the coldest one. We don't have beliefs. Beliefs have us. You don't have beliefs. Beliefs have you. You have more beliefs you're not aware of than the beliefs you're aware of. Let me say this again. You have more beliefs that you're not aware of than the ones you're aware of. That means a lot of choices you're making, you are the actor in a story that's dominating you by somebody else. You're not writing your own story. And I don't think you guys, this is why, once again, entrepreneurs are super humble. Because we're always finding that, oh shit. That word, oh shit, for entrepreneur is probably one of the most uttered words in our private space we probably ever use. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Because you don't realize you were picking up beliefs when you were partying. You were picking up beliefs when you were chilling. You were picking up beliefs when you were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You were picking up beliefs from the way mama and daddy responded to you. You were picking up beliefs from all these different paths. Now you're an older person and you focus on maybe the top 40 beliefs. And you think this is who you are. Now I realize there might be 400 to 1,000 more beliefs that's sitting right underneath those 40 beliefs that's contaminating those key 40 beliefs. And even when you try to act on those core beliefs, you corrupt them by those hidden beliefs. Beliefs are controlling you. You are not controlling your beliefs. That's why when you run across something that you like, that doesn't make sense to me, pause and process it. It will help you discover something about yourself. The more you practice defense, I'm talking about uses. Okay, if somebody walked up to you with a stick to hit you or your child with a stick, it's time to practice the defense. Or maybe a little bit of offense, right? But if I say to you, hey, I don't like this, why are you defending it? Why? Why? I've seen people fight for shit that don't matter, and they use up valuable resources to fight for shit that don't matter. Why? Because it's some deeper belief, and you never gain access to those beliefs because you are too defense focused. You know, we did this exercise 2 years ago, and I challenge you to do this by yourself at home. We told folks, okay, write up racially in the areas of housing, economics, and community, what are some most racist things we're dealing with as black folks? The list went off the chart. Then I turned around and said, okay, challenge number 2, write solutions to those things you just wrote up. I couldn't get past 3 answers with a room full of people because we're in defense mode. Defense, it's nothing wrong with defense mode by in a balance. It's when you're always in defense mode, you stop seeing. You got to have a balance of offense. And the way you get there is you got to be able to turn that defense shit down. Increase the curiosity, practice listening, and when you have moments of things that make you uncomfortable, lean into it. Don't run from it. Don't defend it. Don't argue. Don't be like, don't rush to be a fake ass lawyer.
Hey, this one's a touchy one, but beliefs, what you believe spiritually about God. A lot of times, like if you see spiritual teachers at the highest level, like the Pope, and different religions, Buddhist religion, Christianity, Catholicism, and Islam, they meet and respect and honor each other at the highest levels. The highest levels. They've met, they've talked, they exchanged ideas, they respect each other. The lower you get, the more violent you get in terms of how people feel and respond regarding their religious beliefs. I can't, to the point to where they want to kill each other just for believing in a different version of the same God. They want to kill each other, and they do. And we've been doing this for thousands of years. So that's why it says here, we don't have beliefs, beliefs have us. They can hijack you so hard that it will make you want to kill somebody just for not believing in the same shit they do. The Democrat and Republican, they will show up at a fucking event and fight each other because they believe in a different version of the same guy that's going to do pretty much the same shit. That's why beliefs are so strong. So it's very important for us to see the funniness of that shit and the humor in it and back away. I'm like, why am I taking my beliefs so serious? Because beliefs aren't real anyway. They're just what I'm choosing to rest my psychology on. It could change tomorrow. So understanding this concept, it can help you back away from it and really be more free.
Ideas are meant to evolve and change. All of your ideas and all your views look, if you're new in this entrepreneur game or if you're mature in this entrepreneur game, learn to stop having idea loyalty. I always believe, someone's always told me, I've always been this kind of person. This is the way it's always been done. Ideas, I did this last time. It worked so great. I've been doing this for years. Okay, for example, I have some friends who are athletes. Athletes have the worst ego ever. A lot of athletes, not all of them, but a lot of them have the worst ego ever. They think because of their basketball success, it makes them smart, makes them great thinkers. And some of my basketball friends and football friends, their biggest problems is they treat their ideas as gold. And they go around espousing them all the time. Let me tell you, the only thing that really matters, young man, let me get this one thing to you. Always remember this one thing. And I always say to myself, that's the stupidest shit you ever said. And why is the stupidest shit you ever said? Because ideas are rolling, baby. I'm upgrading ideas. My software is being upgraded every chance. I try to do daily upgrades. I am not attached to every idea you believe in. I'm talking about to your most sacred idea, question it. It's not that you're going to change it. It may be perfect for you right now. It may never change. But all ideas are designed to evolve or change. Matter of fact, it is known that if your child comes home and they're hella political and they're like, Mama, I'm not coming home because I believe in this. Or your friend's like, man, this is who I am now. I'm dashiki brother wearing strawberry stick in my mouth type cat. If you get caught in a moment, you might be like, yo, man, why are you doing that right now? We supposed to do this? Why? I ain't fucking with you. This is who I am. Just give that person space because they just caught an idea. Most people go through these stages of change based upon the ideas they believe in. But the reason they can't recognize the pattern is because they almost worship the ideas. Stop worshiping the ideas. Stop giving all this power to ideas. If you have an idea and somebody gives you a better one, dump the last one and keep moving. Or and sometimes store it. If you think, well, it might be good, let me just store it. I might have to come back to it later. But this whole thing of like locking in this idea and things don't change. Even look, those of you who have high-end degrees know that the knowledge you taught in school, a lot of that's already outdated. So what makes your idea any more special than that? Ideas are designed to evolve and change. So stop all this idea loyalty. It's insane. When you run across different ideas, explore, ask why. Each of us live by thousands of rules. When we aren't sure what to do, we follow the examples of those who came before us. Kids follow their parents, who follow their parents, who follow theirs, and so on and back in time. So think about that, what that means for us as black folks. You go back a couple more of those parents, we following who? Once again, I want y'all, okay, just stay with me for 1 second. Remember this. Slavery's over. Imagine slavery's over. And none of us can imagine slavery. It's not possible. It's really not possible. That level of poverty is not possible for your brain to properly imagine. But let's just do a rough, poor-ass Disney version because that's about as best your brain can do. But let's imagine slavery is over and you set free. But you don't know where to go. There's no industries waiting on you. There's no schools for you. There's no hospitals for you. There's no supermarkets for you. There's no nothing. So guess what most of us did? 99.9% of us went back to work, working for the slave master, because that's where we was getting our food from before. So we learn to talk about unfairness of the slave master, but we never figured out what was freedom. We didn't even know what freedom was because we never been exposed to freedom. You were raised and born in slavery. And then in 2020, if you sit down with a group of black people, I challenge you, and please record it for me and bring me back the results, because I already know the results, but I just want to see you go through it. Let's have a conversation about freedom, people. I'm going to invite 20 people in my house, or 5 people, or even 3 people. Let's discuss, what does freedom look like for black people? Let's write up a blueprint of our own, out of our imagination, of what freedom looks like. And I bet you will spend most of the time in that evening talking about what's wrong with society and what's unfair and what you didn't get. Because once again, that's the same conversation the slave has been having since slavery was over. He's been complaining, but he never sat down, or she never sat down and really processed, what is freedom? And freedom's not even built in our patterns and our habits. This entrepreneurship, the reason it's going to feel really, really weird, because we're talking about the beginning of starting some freedom shit. Freedom to redesign reality. Redesign reality. So you can protect and invest in your own. Like, I trip on this. Like, sometimes we're like, oh, he comes from a rich family, and you demonize people with money. But you got to remember that, let's say Nana works really, really hard, and I make, in my lifetime, $80 million before I die. And then my kids come along, and they flossing. But they've also performing, but they flossing. And then you get jealous. See, that's the mindset of a slave. A free man would be like, man, thank God your father helped you. I want to do that for my kids, and then move the fuck on. A person who's a slave is going to worry about what you have. A free man going to focus on what they can get.
Also, too, is understanding with this, deciding to be an entrepreneur is saying, based on the thousands of rules that I have migrated to this life that I have right now, I'm deciding to go a different direction, a free direction. So with that in mind, when you decide to be an entrepreneur, a lot of times your thinking and your behavior and your actions are going to differ from your parents, people in your household. So if you're caught in that rule that family is everything, that's a rule, family is everything. I can't go against my pops. And pops tells you that the shit you're doing is stupid, or the ideas or whatever, or your mom, God forbid your mom tells you, because your mom is your heart, and your mom disagrees with your entrepreneurial ideas and your concepts, your ability to break away from those rules, to say, well, I got to question that why. If it's going to stunt your growth. It's going to stunt your ability to perform as an entrepreneur just from that one rule alone, knowing that 2 generations before was slaves in your ancestry. So it can get real murky just from this thought alone, and having the ability to disconnect in those times and those situations is going to help.
The 5 ways we are indoctrinated. This is so cold. One we all know is childhood. Means are indoctrinated because of childhood. The second one, authority. Somebody comes along who has authority and says, this is what you should do. It could be news, it could be schools, it could be organizations. The next one, the need to belong. Well, everybody's doing that, right? You do want to be accepted by the tribe. That's that tribalism that goes into our deeper brain. Other one's social proof. Social proof is you see a whole bunch of people doing it, I guess that's what I should be doing, right? The 5th one, and I think this is cold, internal insecurities. Internal security meets the meaning-making machine. Let's say I'm hanging out with Shakina, and Shakina says, I'm about to go in this store and steal an item. Because I want to get this Gucci. I can get it from Macy's. I can go in there and work a little lick and get this free or this cheap version of Gucci perfume. And it's going to be some illegal shit, but they won't catch me. And in my mind, I don't want to go in there with her. But I start telling myself, but if I don't go in there, she's going to probably think I'm weak. And she think I'm weak, she probably going to tell guess what I'm doing? I'm adding meaning to it. and I start to shape my beliefs just to go into alignment with people around me. Or let's say one day I'm outside and everybody's playing basketball and nobody picks me. And I don't realize that everybody they picked was close friends. Even the dude is weaker than me, they chose. But in my mind, I say they didn't pick me because I'm not that good in basketball, and they probably don't like me. And so now I change my life to be accepted, and I go out my way to be accepted. It's because I told myself they didn't like me because they didn't choose me when they had a different motive. You guys get where I'm going with this? Quite often we're having these deep conversations to ourselves that's setting us up to change our beliefs because we're talking ourselves into things that we don't even believe in.
Hey, let's talk about authority. A lot of times, this one is so powerful. Hey, if your teacher said that you wasn't smart, you wasn't going to be shit, you was going to end up in jail, dead or in jail. I know some of us got those speeches from teachers. I know I did. And if you allow that authority to seep into your system to believe it, then it can indoctrinate you. Same thing as you grow older, when you have a boss or you have even people, even the books we read. Do not take these books as gospel or Bible no, they're books that a regular ass human with a specialty wrote, and know that the books you're reading now, 5 years from now, is going to be an upgraded, much different, much better, maybe even completely different version of it that disproves this. But in this moment, this is what the truth is and what's working. So don't ever get caught up in no authority. If you pitch to some investors and they say, all that is shit, it's not going to work, it's not going to work. If you allow the authority or the white coat, like you talked about, if you let that seep into your system, it can break your spirit. And so nobody can fucking break your spirit if you don't allow them to.
And let me just throw one more authority that's cold. I've seen this one happen in black people all the time. You know, I watched you for a long time, Silence. And the Spirit's talking to me to talk to you. And he tells me this is not for you over here. And we'd be like, wow. I know you don't believe me, but just if you don't believe me, go talk to some people and see what I'm talking about. And you don't realize that person will create a self-fulfilling prophecy because they will start to shift your beliefs. We hear these beautiful stories all the time, Silence, I've been watching you. Your father wasn't good at this, and obviously I don't think you're going to be good at it either. Because I think it's in your genes. How the fuck you become a gene scientist and you didn't finish high school? How the fuck that happened, mama? But this is the reality of what you're going to deal with. These stories that people in authority, as a school teacher, which means I'm this person who got a job who could not work in corporate America because I wasn't good enough. So I took this job as a school teacher, taking a quarter of the salary. But now I'm about to tell you, kid, how your life's fucked up, even though I feel like my life's fucked up. Or as your psychologist who's fucked up, because a lot of psychologists get in the field because they fucked up, gonna fuck you up even more because they feel in some kind of emotional way. I had a psychologist one time told me, we was having some family problems. This is a little ways back, and this is when he got fired with his punk ass. He said, because we had took our son that he had to go stay with his grandparents while the shit was being worked out. He said, "Oh, you outsourcing parenting?" I said, "Who the fuck you think you talking to?" Like, no offense, you got the game fucked up, right? Because he was trying to use his authority to define my reality. And in the end, that's not what that is. There's a time when you're outsourcing is, hey, we want to do this over here and our child's an inconvenience. As opposed to, we got to create some space to see what's going on because something's breaking down here. And in the space, we're too emotionally overwhelmed to show up as the proper parents. So because parenting is not about compliancy. In black community, if our children do what we say, we're great parents. Don't give a fuck about the mental condition they're in. As long as they sit their ass down, eat their food, and take their ass to sleep, and bring me home a B, a C plus, and higher, they good kids, and your kid can be fucked up in the head. But real parenting is parenting the physical body, the mind, the body, and the spirit. And that means that when you're parenting the mind, body, and spirit, that shit's going to tax the shit out of you as an individual. Because most of parenting is how you show up. That means parenting is parenting yourself first.
Yo, here's some cold shit. Is dope as slide before this. Each of us live by thousands of rules. Boom, boom, slavery, right? Mm-hmm. Today's time, with the way we discipline our black kids, we have a propensity at some point to want to break them with the belt. Because they confident, they strong, they want to do what they want to do, they outspoken, and we in our constant discipline that we call it, it leads a lot to breaking them. We want to, because we want you to listen and do what the fuck I tell you to do, when I tell you to do it, how I want you to do it. Don't ask me why, just do what the fuck I say. Right?
Yeah.
Don't ask me why. Well, don't ask me why. When we walk in this motherfucking store, like that's how. And so that breaking shit, if you reach back 2 generations, it comes from slavery, breaking our kids. So the spirit that they have, when our kids are born, we want them to be the best that they can be. We see success for them. We want them to be the most amazing creatures, do better than us, right? That's how we. But in our discipline, if we spanking and shit like that doesn't reflect what's going on in our mind. That's called a limiting, conflicting beliefs. What we want for them and what we're doing to them, 2 opposites. So at the end of the day, that's how we can indoctrinate our kids, and we don't even know we're doing it. It's a limiting belief that we don't even see.
That's all tight. Our cultural escapes are powerful because of the number of people who we believe in, because of the number of people who believe in them. So a lot of times when you have these false beliefs, they can seem like the majority share your belief because everywhere you turn, you see people like you that share your belief. Matter of fact, this is where social media is in trouble because social media even goes out of its way to make sure that you only see similar beliefs to your own. And then when you leave your house, everybody's echoing those beliefs, which solidifies those beliefs to yourself. Once it's solidified, they're almost close to impossible, especially the more you invest in the beliefs. This is why a lot of times people with a lot of knowledge are the slowest to change. Because they have enough knowledge to argue why they don't need to change. And so quite often, it is critical to realize that when you see everybody, first of all, when you say everybody, the word everybody is rarely ever everybody. I just want to say, once again, next time you say everybody, rarely is it everybody. Because you don't know what 8 billion, matter of fact, you don't even know what people outside of your state or your culture or your group or your tribe is thinking most of the time. Most of us can't tell, you can't tell me the way a Midwest person thinks. Most of us can't tell me how somebody who comes from Canada really processes every idea. Although we share common words and we share common greetings, doesn't mean that we share common beliefs. And so next time you decide you want to say everybody, it's almost like you're giving up. It's almost a way of going on autopilot and giving up your responsibility to other people. If you want to direct your life and where you're going, then you need to control that narrative. If you keep handling people's control over your narrative to other people, understand other people is controlling your possibilities.
Hey, and this ties into a few slides up where it talks about rules. All rules and laws are created by the crowd. It's not created by right or wrong or the law of nature or the law of the universe. They're created by a crowd. So whatever the thinking is of the crowd in the current time, they can agree on some crazy ass shit and call it a rule and a law. Like at a certain point in time, it was law that if you got caught cheating on your spouse, you were taken outside of the city and stoned to death. That was law at the time. It was a law at the time.
Law, you could beat your woman if the stick was shorter than your hand to your forearm. In America, you could beat your woman with it.
Yeah. In the United States right now, it is law that in like 7 states, you can marry a girl that's 15 years old. That's law. In 2021, we can't even fathom that concept. But that's still law because hundreds of years ago, a group of people agreed on it. So that's what makes it so malleable, and that's what makes this culture statement powerful, because all it is a number of people, majority or whoever, agrees with it.
Our people of power agreed upon it. Another thing too, let me give you another level again, because I know a lot of you guys gonna go out. There's people who are suffering from the right and wrong syndrome, where you focus on right and wrong, which I'm gonna teach you 1,000 different ways how thinking about what is right, what is wrong is gonna kill you. Matter of fact, I would even argue that as a whole, black people have been championed with being the moral leaders of America, and that title have made us police and we police right and wrong. As an entrepreneur, you want to turn down that fucking frequency down to almost 2. If the frequency can go to 100, turn down to 2. You want to get to the point where when you see beliefs you disagree with, learn to see the opportunities. Human beings will never be perfect. Let's just get over that right now. Maybe you call that a limiting belief, but we just can't be perfect based upon the mathematical number. When different bad ideas arise, they're still human ideas. When you focus on all the things you don't like, the more you gain this knowledge, you will only like a small portion of society. I'm talking about so small, it might come down to 5 or 10 people. You have to learn to not be harsh on the things you disagree with, and even sometimes find out there's opportunities to sell a service or a product, an idea that can help those people become enlightened based upon their beliefs. But you can sit there and be like, and if you really think about this is how we treat our race. We so disagree with shit that black people are doing, we don't see value in black people. But they're spending $1.2 trillion. If you turn that belief shit down, that right and wrong shit down, you start saying, oh, all you guys are buying soap and none of us is selling soap? I'm selling soap. But if you're in a situation where, black folks are always washing clothes, this is some stupid ass shit. We just wasting water. This is ridiculous. If you don't start selling washing machines and soap and get the fuck up out of here, or man, why is black folks always driving cars and getting rims, and you're not selling rims and cars? Like, I hate to say it, this is rule that says if you can never get into a person's pocket when you're negotiating, and when you're negotiating, take all the money you can take, because if you don't take it, they will spend it on stupid shit. That's a rule in negotiation. That's a rule. When I go in negotiation, I'm going for everything because money's number one is replenishable. All money is replenishable. I'm not taking you and you're done. You're going to replenish it. But I'm going to maximize my negotiations, because if I leave you with that $800, you're going to have some $800 tennis shoes next week. And I'm going to feel some kind of way because I left that $800 in your hand and I'm over there struggling to complete your project. So at the end of the day, once you understand the game, you realize, okay, human beings do stupid shit. We all do. I do stupid shit. You put me in Atlanta, I'm being stupid for a few hours. It don't make no sense for me to be at a strip club. I ain't going to sleep with this woman. I'm happily married, but I'm having a good time, right? And I might lose $100 here and there somehow. Some little $10 win, $20 here, something happen, right? Like, you know, do something strange for a little change. You understand me? But so my point is that when that happens, that's stupid shit. There's somebody know Nana coming tonight, and he's going to do some stupid shit. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to make their money. I'm saying human beings are not all rational, perfect animals. We do stupid shit. Somebody needs to sell stupid shit too. Yeah. When you go to the store, you buy more stupid shit than good shit. Unless you're really, really poor. But when the more money you get, you start buying more and more stupid shit. How many of y'all went on Amazon and bought some stupid shit?
Y'all getting packages every day. Quit lying.
Yeah, and so why are you stopping? Why are you all of a sudden going to become anti-stupid shit because you take this class?
You know what's funny? A lot of times we get so caught up in our stories that we do hella stupid shit, but we'll gossip about somebody doing the same stupid shit. We'll gossip and talk about other people doing the same shit we doing because we disconnected in our own minds, and we don't even see ourselves as doing it because we got this
gossip
leave it to beaver type of mentality, and And our church that we go to has created this fake sense of perfection on the surface that everybody has to posture to, that you forget that you're doing stupid shit. You forget that you got dark sides that you have to honor and manage and control. We all do the shit. And if once you come to grips with that, then you realize that's part of your culture scape too. That's part of your
The
culture
reason I talk about Atlanta strip clubs is not because I'm trying to get y'all to go with me, because I don't need all that company. The reason I'm talking about this is because I want you guys to face your stupid shit. See, it's easy because the way our brains work is to turn us into heroes and then turn us into Puritans, and then we cousins of Jesus. That's not who we are. We two black dudes from East Oakland who like East Oakland shit. Like, I don't want motherfucking sideshow on my block, but I like big ass speakers in a car or a motorcycle, and that's stupid shit. I can't even. My Harley is straight up stupid shit. A brother and sister with hella tennis shoes is some stupid shit. But the more we realize that, okay, what we're talking about is balance. You should have more processed, thought out shit going on in your life, and a little bit of stupid shit. But just try to act like you have none. Now you're kind of moving away from that human space. And the more you're honest about that stupid shit stuff that you do, the more you have real control over your own life. But the more you get into this idea, well, it should be like this, I don't really do this, you don't realize you're victimizing your own fucking self. So stupid shit, quiet as kept, we get into this business thing and we're dismissing things that, I don't like them. That gossiping thing is we're shutting down possible markets and possible options. Learn just to be curious. Turn down that judgmental shit. Turn down that righteousness and wrong shit. Turn about bad people, good people. Turn down that cutting people off. Turn down that jumping online to tell people what they need to do with their life. And focus on your shit. And when you focus on your shit, learn to see the beauty in human beings. Like, I don't care what y'all say. I was in a room when my daughter was born. I couldn't watch it because it was just too much. But I was in a room. That shit's crazy. That a woman carries a baby in her stomach for 9 months. And this little girl today is telling me, no, don't do that. Right? That shit is amazing to me. And you trying to tell me that I'm supposed to see something more important than this? Human beings? Do you realize all your happiness, all your success comes through other human beings? And you over there spending all your days thinking about negative shit about other human beings? And you know the only reason you're so negative about other human beings? Because you're negative about yourself. Love yourself and you'll love others twice as fast. I'm going to hit one more slide, then we'll go home. Was there any questions back there, Shabisha? Any questions? Okay, tell you what, I'm going to pause here. I know Danielle will cuss me out because we just finished last week's slides. I'm just going to go straight to slides next week because we already got, Jesus Christ. But yeah, Danielle got some cool stuff in here. But as right now, we're going to just answer these questions and close out the class for the night. We'll come back and I might only give Danielle 5 slides next week because I got 13 more slides. Go ahead.
Okay, this one comes from Morpheus.
Morpheus.
He says, Nana, this is a question about, this is going back to why.
Why you gotta say my name like that though? He said, Nana. Come on, man. He's
Sorry,
Morpheus. You gotta say it with some bass.
You
Morpheus.
getting
He said, Nana. Yo,
getting
nah.
my feminine tone
Yeah,
with your
Nana.
questions, my
Yo,
bad.
my man.
I can't, that's not me.
No, but you can't say Morpheus said, Nana.
Okay,
Come on, man. Give me some. Come on.
Okay.
Morpheus, let's do this shit.
You good at imitating.
Yeah, you can imitate me, and you can imitate him. You can imitate everybody in this room.
Okay. Let me see. So Morpheus said, Nana, with the why, once you have the answer, how do you become comfortable with, what? Once you have the answer, how do you become comfortable with the answer you get?
What do you mean?
So your thing was to ask why.
Right.
And so his thing is, okay, I've asked why.
I say compound wise. So compound wise, when you're asking why, you're always in a why mode. Okay, for example, have you ever been to a dinner party with I watch the rhythm of people who are successful, white and black. It's something similar. There's some similarities. If you're around somebody who's like really performing, but he's humble, because usually a really successful dude, he could be the most humblest dude in there, where he could be in sandals with a little plate of food, and he's constantly just filling up that little plate, and he's walking around, and he's drinking, he's sipping, and then every time he's talking to people, he got food in his mouth somehow. And he'll say something like this. He'll say, you know, I was talking to a guy the other day who sells basketball jerseys, and he was telling me the reason they do this is the other, and I heard you sell jerseys. Is that the same for you? He'll verify those whys. And he'll go around and he'll look at, and then he'll watch a video one day, and then he'll Google something, and he'll read books, and all of a sudden he starts to backfill. And before you know it, if he decided to go into the industry, he's going to the industry with a deeper level of knowledge. Many of us decide tomorrow I'm going to do something. Let me do the old Shekinah. Sorry, Shekinah, you won't be able to catch me when the camera's off. I'll run before you get a chance to look. Old Shekinah used to say, you know, I used to really be good at this. I can do it. And I use a pause every time. I used to be good at this. What she was doing is not paying any praise to the process. Now, Shekinah ain't the only one. I just use Shekinah because, you know, she's just somebody that's close to me. I can use my jokes. But the reality is that a lot of people announce what they're going to do, and they have no whys. I'm going to open me a store. You do what information? Well, I worked at a store one time before. Remember when we was in Seattle, the dude said, yeah, I don't need to take a business class because I work around a lot of successful people. Motherfucker, please. And so why is the beginning of honoring the process? Because if you see somebody super, super dope, quite often when we watch sports or high performers, the process is invisible. But you can't discover it if you don't have a why addiction. And by your ability to ask why so much, it starts to lead you to the point you'll figure out who's the top training coaches. What are some of the techniques that Steph Curry's using? How long Steph Curry's been practicing? What are different options of getting to the same goals with different profiles or different backgrounds? Because you're so why hungry. But people who don't ask why or have surface whys will use that simple as answer to try to validate themselves. If you want to do anything in any industry, you should be whying up that industry to death. If you say, I want to do anything, I'm talking about anything, and the people you ask why to don't necessarily have to be the experts. It could be common people who find, for example, my mentor, this is one of the famous, we would come over his house, and he would say, yo, y'all come on in, chill. And we watched a football game, we eating food, this is before I am who I am today. And he'd be like, let me ask y'all a question. If this happened and the person came at you and did this, what would you do? And it would always spark a debate. Everybody's debating and arguing, right? And he would just sit there and just take the data in. And then 2 months later, he goes, hey, so, you know, I did the research, I heard what everybody had to say, and this is what I came to my conclusion. But he would learn, he's just a why, and he taught me to be why. So the reason people come to me and say, Donnie, you know so much, no, I don't. It's that I study so many whys that I have a really rich conversation, but that conversation is because I'm always so damn curious. But I also realize, for all I know, there's thousands of times amount of stuff I don't know. And so when you walk in why, other human beings think you're brilliant. You're not really brilliant. You're fucking curious. That's it. I'm curious. I'm not smart. I'm just curious.
Next one. Can why be gratuitous if it's not going to impact outcomes? And so for context, so you may not always be the ultimate decision maker, even as an entrepreneur. So it would seem that why can sometimes be futile because you cannot influence something that's going to happen, and the energy is better suited toward pivoting to the next step.
No.
No.
Go ahead. You take go first. Go ahead.
You're not trying to impact in the moment. You're trying to understand. So
It empowers.
a why question, you're trying to understand. A, B, said it earlier, whoever asks the question is in control. So whoever asks the question is in power at that moment. So now you just shifted power. Asking why gives you a data point. That's what you're doing. I want to get a data point from you. Doesn't mean that person you ask why from even has the correct the answer that can help you. You're getting a data point. So it's never futile, because especially if that person is potentially in your demographic, or they're running a business, or even if they're a relative or a friend that says some slick shit, and you're like, hey, why'd you say that? If you ask compound wise, then you can get to the root. Well, why'd you say that? Well, because. Well, why that? Well, because. Well, why that? Because you said something to me 2 weeks ago and it hurt my feelings. Oh, like all you're doing is gathering data. You're not trying to control a situation.
Yeah, and also too, when you ask why, to build on the back of what Court just said, it also gives you the freedom to make a choice of gives you the freedom to control your reality. If you believe all police are killing black people because you didn't ask why, then imagine the amount of stress you go through every time a cop car passes or your children leave the house, right? But when you ask why gives you the ability to navigate and move through society, right? Also, let's say you part of a team and somebody else is controlling the why. You asking why gives you the ability to also be the future competition to that system. Or gives you the ability to realize you're not trapped by that system. Or lets you know what power that person really doesn't have that you rewarded them with that they don't actually have, right? Why frees you like I've never seen before. And why gives you a sense of empowerment to walk on the other side of limiting beliefs, and it increases options, it amplifies creativity, you start to see opportunities like you've never seen before, you start to see, okay, progress, there's, like we talked, me and Scott talked about this yesterday, there are things in society that's already happening in this world that's 3 generations ahead. They're happening, they just haven't made it to your world yet. You can get to seeing that sooner if you walk in wise. But if you don't walk in why, you are late on innovation even. Because you're just waiting for shit to land in your lap. You waiting for success to fall in your lap. You waiting for happiness to fall in your lap. You waiting for the right Mr. person to walk in your life and fall in your lap. But when you ask why, you can go out and discover everything you want. So why is it empowerment and a freedom of movement and control of your emotions? Because if I can hurt you, I can trap you. But when you have the why, you take away my ability to hurt you. So like if I was Bank of America and I say, you know what, Shabisha, I just looked at your numbers, I'm not going to give you no money. Some of you guys would just throw your business in the trash. But if you have why, you understand, oh, the reason they're not giving me no money, because they sit here. And I got to get past this here, they have 0 interest. And so if I'm trying to get from here to here, what are my ways of bootstrapping this idea? But if you don't know that, and you don't know the layers to that because you don't ask why, you could take that voice of authority and it will shape your reality and create a new limitation for you.
This question is from Tennille.
What's up, Tennille?
Her question is there a tool or practice that either of you have found effective that can be used to help someone be more conscious of when they are functioning in a limited mindset, a way to check oneself?
Okay, 1, the people you're around. That's number 1. The people around you're around. That's like out the gate. When you're around limited mindset, it doesn't feel like limited mindset. Right? Because limited mindset supports limited mindset. 2, if you walk in curiosity, you eventually catch it. You're starting to naturally catch it yourself. But the people you're around, like if Court calls me right now, we could smell each other's limits. And call Mashama right now, he'll hurt your limiting beliefs. Right? He'll hurt your feelings all day long. Because Mashama catches limiting beliefs probably the fastest I've ever seen. Right? And the reality is that, but all the people around me will be like, hey, that might not be true. It could be this way too. They don't attack you. They just say, why do you think it that? Why do you think it has to go that way? It could go this way. So limiting beliefs, the people you're around, who you hang around. 2, what are you studying? What are you reading? What are you doing with your free time? I promise you, if you watch TV and you spend a lot of time on social media, your limiting beliefs are crazy. Now, for those of you who say, no, I don't have a lot of limiting beliefs, I don't spend a lot of time on social media, get that app out and look at how many hours you spend on social media. It's going to fuck you up.
Yeah, yeah. Some people that you have around you that are in your circle that you think are haters, they're not. They may not even be haters. They may be people that's challenging your limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs. This is a way that actually Vishen talks about in a podcast or in one of his books or something about how to challenge your limiting beliefs. Is you have to start building that voice in your head, that self-talk in your head. That's the muscle you got to start working on building. But one question you ask yourself all the time is that true? Are you sure that's true? That's what you're saying to yourself. So if you say, I'm too young, or man, I'm not smart enough for that, ask yourself, is that true?
I can't change jobs right now.
Are you sure? Because once you start challenging and questioning your limiting beliefs, then you'll answer yourself back to be like, well, actually, no, because this is like, and that happened. If you can't prove that shit in court, that's a cognitive distortion. Those limiting beliefs are cognitive distortions. So the way you break a cognitive distortion is ask yourself, are you 100% sure that's true? And most of the time, if the answer is no, then you just bumped up against a limiting belief. And now you can destroy it. Well, what are some examples that can disprove that? Well, I said I was too young before, and I did this, and that person's younger than me, and you can start killing them, and that's how you'll dismantle limiting beliefs.
So this is the last one, and this comes from Manny.
What's up, Manny?
On YouTube.
Okay, right on.
He asked, is there pacing to the learning as it pertains to this space specifically? So from the Code of the Extraordinary Mind to our discussions, and now in the wild, home and work things seem intensified. And so not bad or good, just more hyper-aware.
Yeah, you got to go. Okay, so those are stages of change, and he's right. Or I'm not sure if Manny's a woman or a male because you too. So please forgive me, Manny, if I get the gender wrong. Huh? Guy. Okay, man. Okay, so Manny. Yes, there is pacing. When you think you change, you still haven't changed. You just mostly, your awareness has changed, but your habits are still the same. And so change is going to take some time. 2, in that process, you're going to go through this thing. Everybody in this class goes through the same thing. Your first level is going to be discussed because that's how we've been trained. Like, that's stupid. That's why they all fucked up over there, right? Da. But then you develop compassion and empathy, and it turns it into, you see yourself as being just different, right? It's like once you realize your job is to be a leader in society, you realize everybody can't be leaders, and you let people be who they're going to be. That's why a lot of times we'll say that's why we say this is the entrepreneur course, and that other class is down in the hall, the self-justice, Me Too, we love everybody, earthly class, that's down the hallway, full of sage. Sorry, bro. I just stole that from you. Point is this, is that, but here, because you're a leader, like when you fight in war, you don't get to make the same decisions the soldiers are making if you're the general. As a general, you might say, hey, I'm going to send 100 of y'all over that mountain, and 80 of y'all probably won't come back, but we're going to win this war. And it's going to save thousands of lives. Where the soldier can't make that decision. And so what I'm saying is that you learn to accept the differences. It's just part of the game. You don't get frustrated, you don't get angry. But when when you have a job, of course we're going to make it very uncomfortable. Okay, can you have a job and take this class? Yes, you can. And this is where you're going to learn how to use it. If you have a job, you can set your sight on vice president to CEO to upper management really fast because you're going to learn to think so different that you'll be able to network your way up to the top faster. That is possible. We've seen that happen of students who are taking this class who learn to see, like for example, most people go to work and they just do the same pattern every day until management asks them to change, and they take the training, they go back and they do the new pattern. Rarely do people go to work and study their company, study their products, study their service, and study their responsibilities, and then be able to contribute to a point that people says, hey, he should or she should be the leader, right? So there are values here that can transfer. But just know that, like, lean into that frustration and anger you're having, and then start asking yourself some deeper questions, because there's deeper values there that will change the way you even ask that question, Manny, which is, I'm leaning into this emotion now, and I realize what's really frustrating me is this. And that's what we want to talk about. Whatever that is, we want to get right there. We don't want to get into like, I'm frustrated. That's not granular enough. What's frustrating, or why is the frequency going up? What's starting to slightly irritate you? Because that's telling you more about yourself, and that's what you need. You need that feedback, because the most important person to change is not the company, is you.
One more.
Okay.
Just going back to the conversation around limiting beliefs and challenging your beliefs, one of the first things that you bump up against in this class is the belief that you know yourself, right? So we talked about perception earlier and limiting beliefs, but one of the first things that you bump up against, because we feel like we have self-awareness, we know ourselves. How do you go further, right? So how do you, what's a way to go just like one step further? Because the belief is, okay, I'm hearing what you guys are saying, and then I know myself well enough to just go home and do that. But most of us don't really practice self-awareness before we come into this class. We were at the class down the hall. So when you, I'm using that now.
It just sounds good, right? It feels good, right?
So if you're coming from the class from down the hall and you're coming into this space,
It's becoming the whole thing.
It is.
Yeah. You gotta make some students come in here one day like, I don't like this class. Anyway, well, go ahead.
But the first piece is the acceptance that you may not see yourself as well as you thought you did. So how to manage that in this space? Because you were talking about, Mashama, you have other people around you. But if you don't have that, what are some ways that you can start to develop that if you're in isolation, like you're by yourself?
Well, the isolation is, that's part of we're stimulating that change. Okay, this is not a magic trick. So it's not like you just go, new people. Oh, shit, what's up, baby? Right? Two, when you go find new people, you're still the old person with ideas, not change habits. So, and they're going to see that. You can, but they can't. This change will start to cause you to speak different publicly, which will be a dog whistle to other people similar to you to start talking to you, which start to form those new relationships. But when it first happened, there's just a small blink of loneliness, just a small blink. But if you just start sharing your ideas or asking better questions or exploring new ideas, all of a sudden those people come right into focus. But when you're just in your head in the house, it seems like it's a big-ass bridge you have to cross to get from who you are today to where you want to go, right? And so, yes, your friends are going to have to change. Okay, so let me say this real quick. Don't fire your friends. Let me say this again. Do not fire your friends. Just demote some of the friends that don't work anymore. Because all your friends are still valuable in some way or another. It's just that when I say demote, meaning that where do you spend most of your time? If you're trying to, okay, you might say, well, now that seems weird. Okay. If you went to school to be a doctor right now, could you hang out on the block the way you used to? If you decided tomorrow you wanted to become the top anything, can you hang out the way you used to? This entrepreneurship requires so much effort, so much energy, and so much internal growth. You're going to have to build an environment for a winner, the environment for champions. Entrepreneur is a championship type of game. it's not, like I see young girls when they want to have a baby, they think about babies like dolls. They don't get to rock them, hold them, kiss them, love you, go to bed. They don't know teenage time is coming. And you got a rebel in your house telling you, fuck you, mama. You don't realize you got somebody who got hormones kicking in a minute. You don't realize the cost of a child through school. You didn't realize that you don't build a budget for that. Like your child's education is directly tied to the amount of money you spend on their education. So those little cute shoes you used to buy needs to go towards a tutor, right? You didn't think about none of that shit when you was, banging and then rubbing your stomach, right? What I'm saying is we do the same shit about this entrepreneur shit. We think about going to the bank. We think about driving that exclusive nice car because we have to, because taxes say we have to drive a nice car now. We think about going places and speaking about being an entrepreneur. We think about people following us. We think about social status social status growth. We don't think about that other hard mental shit. Because here's the thing. Here's the opposite of success. It's failure. It's easy to process success. It's hard to process who you are when you're really in the midst of failure. And so this mental growth is necessary. We get you into a game that failure is more likely a lot. You're going to see more failures than successes. You can have thousands of success to thousands of failures to 10 success and be a very successful person in the end, but you had to go through 1,000 failures. This ain't no time for fragility. This is the problem I have with black folks getting to, look, if white women want to preach fragility, that's cool, that's where they are, and I can't judge them for that because that's part of their evolution based upon economics, class, all these different things that part of it's not a negative judgment. Black people, we ain't got time to play the fragility campaign. We got to move towards anti-fragility, which is we got to get a little bit more robust. We got to become a little bit stronger. We got to be more like Hydra, which is you cut off one head, I'm going to grow two. Right? We're going to have to move differently if we're going to compete in this world. But this whole, and here's the thing, I'm not demonizing you at home that's listening to this class for that feeling. I'm saying in this class, our job is to get you from there to like, okay, I don't like the way it feels. I process it, I feel it, but I signed up for this. And once you can say that shit there, it lets you move differently. You don't act like you're in the midst of Armageddon. You just act like you're in the midst of a challenge. That's a huge fucking difference. And so that's where we're trying to get to in this class is that the reason we're taking you on this psychological journey, and let me close this with this story, and Court can close. A lady called me today and said, Nana, 100 black women want you to come speak about controlling your finances, right? Like how to go legitimate with your business and your taxes and your insurance and your fees. And I said, yo, that don't make no fucking sense. That sounds weird because everybody should be legitimate, right, at some point. And the first person that's coming out is a financial person who financed his brother, who Damon Lawrence or something. He's built a hotel out here and he's financed by this group of people. And I was like, that shit makes no sense. He said, what do you mean? I said, because there's a psychological barrier to your numbers. The reason a lot of black people don't do their numbers, because they don't want to see themselves. Because your number is a way of, okay, when you tie your personal value to your business, when you look at your numbers, it says it makes you feel less about yourself, especially when you're broke. 2, if you focus on the outcome instead of the process, you're going to try to bend every corner possible to get to success, and that means you're going to try to hook up, avoid paying insurance, take every move you can because the only thing that matters is the outcome, not recognizing the value of the process, right? Psychologically, also, if you suffer from scarcity, and somebody comes to you and say, hey, the government needs 20 grand this year, 40 grand this year, 60 grand this year, and you've never spent more than 3 grand out your hand. I mean, like you never went into your pocket and put out more than 3 to 5 grand ever and paid somebody cash for something that just says an idea or a law or a principle. Do you know what you're about to do when it comes around tax time? You're going to have anxiety attacks. You're going to have mental breakdown. You're going to need Prozac and all kind of fancy ass shit. Because why? Mentally, you are suffering from scarcity. You have lived check to check. You've had to rob Peter to pay Paul, and now I got to pay some motherfucking taxes? Do you know what I could do with 30 grand? This is what your brain gonna say. So it ain't about just looking at a spreadsheet and putting down some numbers. It's that emotional wall or hurdle you gotta get past so you can psychologically show. I'm completely legit. I believe in insurance. I believe in taxes. Fuck it, I won't keep my roads clean because I'm going to complain. I want my roads fixed, right? Because I need my customer to get to me and go back home. However, I do recall when I was broke as fuck, when I only made $30,000 in 1 year. And the government said, yo, you owe me 3 G's. I said, dog, if I give you 3 G's, how am I supposed to eat? Government said, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if you pick fruit from a tree. Give me my $3,000. That shit had me so fucked up. I told my wife when she was doing my taxes, oh, see, you working for the man. You ain't fucking with brothers out here trying to survive. You obviously won't work my numbers. I should have to owe shit. I promise you, son, I'm telling a joke. I swear to God, at the time, I was in such a fucked up state of mind. I said that crazy ass shit. She still reminds me, and I'm embarrassed when she reminds me I said that stupid shit. But it was a psychological barrier inside of me. So what I'm saying is that the shit you about to experience is going to hit deep in your chest. And if you ain't got you right, you going to get your ass whooped on the first tier 1. You out. You not make it to the finals, baby. So all I'm saying is that this emotional shit, it's going to be an evolution. And you're going to go through a process, and you're going to go through a whole bunch of stages. And some of those stages are going to feel really yucky. This is that faithful tunnel. Stay in the tunnel with me. Walk through it, because the other side, when you get on this other side, you're more robust. People who are not robust are going to say, man, you got this power about you. See, now you qualify to be the leader. You walk in a room and people say, hey, Court, won't you take lead? Because the shit that you went through made you Court. But it's not you Court because one day you had an idea, you saw it on TV, you watched Tony Robbins, now you hot for this shit. You get where I'm going with this? And so I'm just saying that, and I'm not taking Manny because Manny asked dope ass questions, so I don't want to act like that. I'm saying this because there's this undertone from a lot of people that, and I'm saying, good. That's good. That means you're moving. It's not bad at all. Like the way Manny just told me, well, he didn't mean to. Manny just said to me, yo, I'm taking this shit serious. Because if he wasn't taking this shit serious, he wouldn't feel this shit. He'd be like, yeah, that was cool. Pass me another joint. When's the next class, right? But the reason Manny feels uncomfortable, because Manny trying to get this shit, right? But Manny, that's part of the game, baby. Everything that you want is on the other side of pain.
Yeah. So, regards to the distinctions if you stuck in a house and you are trying to ask whys, but you stuck in a house. Thing is, once you enter in that space, it's like what they talk about in some of the podcasts, reticular activating system that's in our brain, meaning once you focus on a particular thing, you'll see it everywhere. Like when you buy a car and you think you bought the only car on the block, and now once you got it, you drive around like, fuck, that car's everywhere. That's because once you focus on something, it expands. So once you focus on your whys, even if you're isolated from a lot of people, you'll see lots and lots of opportunities to grow from it. Because now the things that irritate you make you tight. The things that you scroll through on social media and you don't like, you all of a sudden like, I don't like this person. Or all those are opportunities because those are touching on your limiting beliefs. Anytime you got a judgment towards some shit or you feeling some type of way inside, that's touching at your limiting beliefs. And that gives you a chance to be like, damn, why did I do that? Why did I feel like that? And now you can explore yourself. And you'll find the more you do it, the more opportunities you get to do it more. And the more you could be in your house. You can be like it could be because the dope thing about the world we live in and our bodies and us as humans, we're built to grow and evolve. Period. That's just what we do as humans. We evolve. So like, that shit gonna happen. You gonna learn. Like, somebody's gonna come and impact your life in a way that either brings you pain, growth, learning, pleasure, something, and you gonna have the opportunity to learn. So the beauty of it is now is paying close attention to those situations where you're uncomfortable, and now you get to play. Man, fuck this. Fucker just says, "What the fuck did you just say to me?" Damn, I was tight. Why did I want to smack the shit out of that person? Let me sit back and think about it. Because it was just a little ass interaction. Oh, why? Oh, that goes back to my insecurities about myself. Those are, like just play in that world, and your life, you'll see your life change.
All right, y'all, listen, real quick, too. Danielle sent out a post on Facebook, and she asked you guys to post what businesses you guys have. We're going to build a space on the website, so we're going to keep a space where we can see all the businesses that people own and what they're doing. This is going to help us with our networking and our relationship development. Because once again, we're building a community. We're not just teaching a class. This is a community, and in this community, we have a lot of plans to enhance our growth. And part of that growth is connecting people with other great people who are doing great shit. And so please respond to our email, or if nothing else, if you're watching this podcast, send an email to Marquita with the name of your business, what you do, your information, and then we're going to post it all on our website for the whole class to have visual on. And then over time, we expect to really drive. And then we're going to, at some point, start to rate these businesses, speak about the successful businesses, and then drive resources and attention towards those businesses. And we're going to put them on both sides eventually, I think we're going to put it on both sides of the firewall. So it'll be in the paid firewall, and for the ones who are successful, we could put it on the opposite side of the firewall. So if you just go to Hope Foundation, you'll see the celebration of different businesses within the Hope Foundation. But the goal is, if we're going to do some business shit, let's do some business shit. So with that being said, I want to say thank y'all for showing up one more week. We got one last class. Tell everybody, tell their mama, donate, because like I said, we're reinvesting this shit into solutions that can change our environment. With that being said, peace.